Just for the ones
Set from coaching.
with a had soil suitability 4 and 5.
Okay, so it's over here.
Megan, shall we start with the pledge?
They're actually
Yeah.
all over town.
So,
There's one right actually
7:23,
directly
and
underneath
I'd like to call the
town.
meeting to order.
There's
And
several
we're gonna
just
start with the Pledge
outside.
of Allegiance. So,
What?
we're live. We're also being taped, I wanna just make that note.
Okay.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get here when we go over.
It's bad.
So I'd like to take some public comments. I know the Mathesons have been here waiting. Thank you for your patience as we waited for our meeting to get started. Did you have any comments or questions for our committee tonight?
We're here to find out what's going on. We hear rumors that you guys publicly said you're gonna try to take our land out of the domain.
Let me just put the kibosh on that. There's no, that has never been publicly said. People may be saying that for other reasons. Has your land been looked at and considered as, would it be a possible option for it? Yes, but there's nothing that's ever going to be done
How
for
many
eminent
pieces of
domain.
land in town have been considered?
I don't have the total number, but there's been
Um,
several.
Yeah,
And,
it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I think they're on like H, so.
yeah,
there's even
but there's even more
places.
than that.
Yeah.
And it's not that they've been considered, they're just looked at as, possible areas. I mean, if you call that considered, I don't want to look at it, it's not like trying to spin anything. But, we're looking at all land that could be, have a possible use as disposal area based on soils, estimated groundwater, and, being far away from a
Let me
well.
ask you this question. You were on the Board of Health at one point.
Yes.
Every house in Littleton has a septic system, correct?
Yes, in
So
general.
essentially, it becomes a cost factor on how you dispose of that water, not where you dispose it.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, everything that's.
With eminent domain, you have to have exhausted all your other options.
I have no idea, because eminent domain has never been considered as an option,
Don't
and
use
it's.
those words. Those
Yeah.
words were never uttered by anybody on this committee.
Yeah, but if that's the process for eminent domain, I don't know, because we haven't looked into that process for using this whole area. So,
Did Richard have a conversation with Frank?
Not yet.
Okay.
Ah, okay. While we were waiting, we looked up the map that shows the places that were under consideration in this study. None of them have been exhaustively looked at. We don't know if any of them are suitable, for sure. We were planning to talk to you because one of your pieces of land was one of these, and no one had said anything yet. But no one said anything about eminent domain. No one's even said anything about the exact scale of how water would be recharged into the system. One of the things I just brought up was, if you're farming that land anyway, why not irrigate?
yeah, so that's what but where we're at right now is.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
If we're farming that land, why not irrigate?
No, I was saying that it's, the reason the water needs land to be charged, to go back into the aquifer, the reason you can't just pump it straight in, is it's got nitrates in it. Nitrates are basically fertilizer.
Do you think the state is going to allow us to grow crops on the septic system?
It's not a septic system. Septic system has a component that treats the solids as well. This has already been partially treated. And actually in California they do, and also in Florida they do. But we're an awful long way from anything. It was just a...
They're just beginning to find out the causes of E. coli and where it's all coming from.
All options are on the table.
Yeah.
We're not
This-
going to irrigate with the sewage from the town of Littleton.
No, this was just, it was my private thought, and wasn't in the report, and it was just an aside just a minute ago.
We're here tonight because we did get a letter requesting to have a soil test done. And we also heard recently that the words that were said, that were repeated to us, which probably isn't a good idea as I'm sitting here thinking about it now, to even believe everything you hear, but it was said that we will take Springbrook Farm land, suitable land by eminent domain.
No.
No.
Well, I want to, as chair, apologize that you
We've
found
been
out
here for
about.
300 years. Our ancestors fought in the revolution and kept the farm going.
As a matter of fact, the Historical Society has just discovered that the farm is actually older than 1713, so we,
Yeah.
If you guys want to talk about your historic buildings and your historic clapboards in town, take a look at the real story.
Yeah.
But I think.
Yeah, Frank, but, you know, whatever has gotten under your skin about this, please, it didn't come from this committee. Now, the way that your land, along with other parcels in the town, appeared on a map in the study that we have here, was from a geological map that showed all of the possible soils in town. It showed the best soils, the marginal soils, and the worst soils. And some of your land is in some of those zones. Now, before, the town would choose a spot, there'd have to be a lot of hurdles crossed. First, it would have to be suitable. First, it would have to be cost-effective, which means that the town would look at the town-owned lands first, absolutely first, to see if there were areas that were suitable. And there are areas that's suitable. The area that this building sits on is a very suitable site. There's the area where the water department is a suitable site. So before anybody would even approach you in terms of seeing if you'd be interested.
We've already been approached.
Yeah, where did that letter come from?
Salvos, Donos.
All right, well, you know, he's not a member of this committee.
But at one
he's
point-
listed as a member, as a,
Well, he
not-
was a
not
former
quite.
member.
Yeah, he was a foreman, he said he was a vice. And, you know, the letter, at some point, we did want to test it, and that's, you know, Savas was heading that up. And, you know, Frank, I understand, and, I'm sorry, I didn't. Frank,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a blow-in, you know, it's just, some people see me as a yuppie, and so I can understand some of your skepticism when I say things, but, you know, I just want you to know that, you know, we really have not looked at any land too specifically now, it's all general, and really the next step is this, what we're calling the preliminary design report. That's gonna take a much closer look.
How
If that-
how many letters did Salvos, Donos send out?
I don't know,
I
probably,
think yours was one of the only private
Right.
properties.
'Cause everything else
So
is
that
public,
would be probably one of the only letters, because the rest were
Yeah.
town property or public property of some
Yeah.
sort. We, as a committee, decided not to do soil testing right now because we felt that our feasibility study, which is what we were charged to do, is done. We came up with a study that if there is going to be a sewer in the town common area, it can't be a conventional sewer system, it has to be a different kind of a sewer system. So we have that report. We're pretty much done with our study. The next step would be to test the soils and do a preliminary design. We're not there, we're not that committee. We're just going to tell people what we've learned so far. So if the town votes to move forward with, going forward with a preliminary design, that preliminary design will entail finding soil. And so your concerns are much something that is in the future, if at all. And I do apologize that you heard it not from our committee, because we did have intentions to talk to you personally about it because of the rumors that may have gone around. And we know that Savas did look at your land and talk to you, and we know that you were not interested just based on what Savas told us. So
We didn't
I,
respond. The letter was not even a sent registered letter. We did not respond.
Yeah.
So we do,
you know,
we should be, we may need to be concerned in the future. Is that what you're saying?
No, if, the next step is the preliminary design report. Okay, it's called that, that's because that's what we have to do for an industry, all right, that's what they're looking for. But it's really the next phase of this feasibility. Really, they have to get through some level of design, and some of that level of design starts identifying properties. So if they knock on your door, send you a letter, call you up, and you guys say, not interested, no how, no way, never, they move on. And that, as part of the design, as part of this feasibility study extension, your land just gets knocked off as not an option for a
Not
disposal
available.
site.
That piece of land that the town just bought up on the other side of
Garden
it,
Church Meadows.
yes,
Mhm.
is that in that green shaded area?
The brown.
You know what? I
No.
wish I had the maps in front
I've
of me.
got the map in front of me, it's not.
I doubt it because it's.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's up on the
Yeah.
hill, it's also on
It's
the other
rocky.
side of town.
Mhm.
But one thing I want to say, my I actually have a degree in where to put sewage. That's what I did my master's thesis on. And part of what my master's thesis was using computerized programs to see if we could figure out, without going out and doing tests, whether soils were suitable. And the conclusion of the thesis was that the maps were not good enough. So the map might be wrong. You know, that's why you go out and test. These boundaries that you find here can be off by 50 to 60 feet for some of these things.
And if I recall correctly, it's only a part of your land, is that right? Not-
Well, regardless, if he's not interested, he's not interested
Yeah.
for part of it or the whole.
And the word eminent domain never
Yeah.
was spoken at this
This
committee.
one, I finally figured out the map. This is 495, that's 119. This is an area in back, this is, I think that's Springbrook and Springdale, or part of Springdale. I live right there. But there's this one, and this one, and this one, and that one, and that one.
How big of an area would this septic system entail?
We don't know. That's
Yeah.
what the next step,
Yeah.
we're talking about. We have an idea of how many gallons per day, but then as you know, that depends on the soil and, you know, the level of treatment, how big of an area you need. And it's really only disposal, so it's not, when you say septic system, I think of treatment and disposal, whereas, you know, once we get to identifying land for disposal, there'd be no more treatment at that point.
Yeah, it's not, it's water that's been partially treated.
I just want to let Janet say something and then we'll go back.
And the exact type of treatment, you know, the process has not been determined either at this point in time. So as far as, you know, whether, you know, the spray irrigation, that's not a done deal. That's, you know, that most likely would be put underground. So, you know, I understand your first fear when you hear that, running a farm, and that's not the first fear that should come to your mind, because that process has not been finalized.
Yeah.
We also realize the contribution by keeping Springbrook Farm in agriculture that makes to the town and the goals that you all have for the town.
Yep.
And we really feel strongly that we're really keeping our end of the bargain up. And, you know, we really want to, you know, cooperate and have you on the side of agriculture in every way.
Yeah, a lot of us do wear multiple hats, and, you know, I think most of us fall in line with what we hear from residents, that we do want to support agriculture in any way it can be. You know, the sad thing we see is that farms are being sold, so if there's a farmer who wants to sell this for a disposal, you know, sell their land for a disposal site, you know, the potential exists.
This is the only town that retains its identity as an agricultural town. All the other towns have lost it. And that's huge. If we lose that, I'm not sure what our identity would become. But I think that needs to be protected. And I think we do our part in doing that. We really deeply believe in doing that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And, you know, drive around town, and I hope every year, I hope that every farm starts up again. You know, it's a fear that, you know, all these farms are gonna fold up. So,
Right,
you know,
Yes,
you know, as a resident and all the multiple hats that I wear, I wanna support that. I love bringing my city folk friends in and driving by all the farms, you know, and that's what,
Yeah.
I want us to be that way too.
and we fear that one day maybe Springbrook Farm won't fit in. You know, if we get all these things around us that.
Yeah.
That's actually why we did this study.
Mhm.
Is I was on the master plan committee almost 20 years ago. And we identified that people wanted agriculture to stay agriculture, and parts of town that were already kind of industrial, we wanted them, that's where the industry should go. And we could kind of use a little more of that to balance out the tax base. But under this current zoning, there isn't a good way to achieve it. And that having that sewer system so that you could have more density in that industrial area, you know, right near 495, and right in the center of town, not like high rises, but just a little bit more. This is a tool to get there. And if you want, I can sit down with you. It's a multi-step to get there, but it's a tool for things that's called transfer development rights. It lets people build denser in some areas and not as dense and leave other areas undeveloped if the disposal system can handle it. And that's one of the reasons for going forward, trying to see if we can put this in place, is so we can protect land we want to protect, keep it farming, and still let people get an economic use out of their land.
That's what I think that you believe, and that's what we believe too.
Yeah, so the theory is, get this, but the theory is that when this sewer system comes, you have that development zone in the center around the highways and the busy roads, we can prevent them from expanding and putting, a warehouse on one side of you and a storage center on another and a sports arena behind you. That's the theory. And if we want to, we feel that that theory has enough, that it's possible, that we feel that it's ready to go on to the next step and find out what the feasibility of that is. So, I don't know, Fran, did I cut you off or?
No, no, not at all, no.
Could I just take a comment from Amy back there?
Okay, so, Amy Tarlow. So I just, I was actually on my way to the Board of Health meeting and saw you sitting here and felt like I had to stop. And I had also heard about the sewer feasibility study looking at the Matheson property. And, I've definitely gained some information by sitting here and listening. It sounds like you looked at a map and looked at the quality of the soil, made your judgment around that. But, I just really feel like a 400-acre, 300-year-old farm is a jewel. A sewer is a sewer, and a sewer doesn't belong in a 300-year-old farm. And I think you would lose any chance of passing this at town meeting if people even thought that putting this on the Matheson property is even a possibility. I mean, you should just take it off. It's
Well,
just like,
Yes, if we're gonna cancel out and be contradictory to everything that we're looking at, then I don't think that it would ever fly.
The state recognizes it as an agricultural
Yes.
treasure as well as the town.
Right,
And
yeah, and like I said, it's not this committee's decision in any way, because our committee is limited to the feasibility study. The next step would be a preliminary design study, which would look into great detail. And I don't think that eminent domain would be a part of that. If it's a private property and you said no, I think that would be respected. And there are other options on that map, so.
See, it's all about the soils map. And first we start with the district, then we figure out how much effluent you're going to create from the district. Then you can figure out how much area you need to dispose of. We've got very good areas. We get marginal areas. Marginal area, you need more of it. Good areas, you need less of it. And then, and a lot of that's on town land. For instance, behind the Russell Street School, there's some excellent soils, some pretty poor soils, but it's spotty. So you'd first look at where we could do it. First, closest proximity to the plant, and then town land. It would all be about economics. And I, for one, would never support an eminent domain.
No, I don't think as a resident or a board
Yeah,
member.
absolutely not. And those words were, in my opinion, were uncalled for. We never saw that letter. We never had a chance to comment on that letter. It went out, and it was a shame that it went out to you guys.
Eminent domain wasn't.
Let me make a comment to
It
her.
was in an email or something.
Let me make a comment to her. You said that we should irrigate.
No.
Let me
It was
finish.
just
Let me
up.
finish.
There's no shouldn't.
Put the septic system underneath the football field and let the kids play in it. And irrigate.
It's an option.
There's-
Yeah,
that-
that's actually a
Well,
good idea.
but you don't.
That's actually-
But Amy, if you treat it to drinking water standards, you can do that.
The
Yeah.
football field at the
It's gonna be better
high
than what's
school
there now.
has a septic system under
The
it.
nitrates that,
Yeah,
There you go.
no, that's
We-
actually a really great idea.
The football field at the high school actually has a septic system under it. This town
No, I was
hall,
thinking of the one at the Russell Street School.
Yeah.
I understand that, but this town hall, we have a sewer district already in town. It's this town hall, the Russell Street, the middle school, and the high school. All the effluent from these three buildings here goes to a pump station down behind the middle school, and there's pumped a mile over to the treatment plant at the high school. And the high school then treats it, not the same way as this would be treated, but it treats it in a way that cleans it up substantially, and then sends it up to the football field, and it goes into the ground up there. So
and
that's,
correct me if I'm wrong, but our consultant that we used for this study is responsible, would you say, for cleaning up the Charles River and making that go from a really nasty river to a pretty clean river. So it's all about cleaning up the water system and making it healthy and crystal clear and letting nature take its course, and actually good not just for us, but for the environment. So I don't know if, Bob, you want to?
Just a couple of things. All that's been done here is a series of overlays using data from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which used to be called the Soil Conservation Service, the United States Geologic Survey, and a series
I
of.
understand all of that.
And all it's done is identified what are called level 4 and 5 soils, the best soils in town. If you look at that map, there are like 17 or 18 different fairly sizable areas all over town. One of them's underneath the common, as a matter of fact, right, literally directly underneath the little triangle there. I doubt seriously anybody would consider using that, and I don't think anybody is seriously considering using your farm. As the members of the committee have suggested, the primary location for all of these potential sites would be on town-owned land already. But the other thing I would add is this is not a septic system. Okay, the water, by the time it reaches what are called constructed wetlands, which is where the water would be discharged, it already meets drinking water standards under state law. So it's basically discharging the same sort of water that you see coming out of your hose on the side of your house.
So-
We still think that planting corn there, like we've done for 40, like my husband has planted corn there since he was 13, for 45 years. You don't mind if I say that, do you?
No, I'm 58 years old, I planted corn there every year for 45 years, I
We
don't want to
think-
lose that.
We think that that corn standing does more for, in the broader sense of agriculture in the town, helping to give the vision of agriculture, helping all the farms that are concentrated there to succeed, because there's so much in agriculture.
And
that's-
CRWA,
In
we would-
response to your overlay, I'm completely familiar with that, I do consulting work for the USDA.
Yeah, same thing.
It's also
Fran,
overdata.
so Fran, I guess we don't want to go, I think everyone said anything they want to say, if you have anything else, but I just want to close by saying, I hope you feel better after coming here tonight. And like I said, I'm new, I'm a blow-in, and we don't know each other.
Would it be possible to get a copy of this report?
Sure. It's
Actually-
actually available on the Littleton
Actually-
Town website.
And
But
you
we
can get a
don't-
free copy from the town
I
as
said, why don't I
well.
give them a copy, and I'll pick, and if you want to have Jennifer do the one for me, they can pick it up tonight then.
We don't know each other, but we have mutual friends, I'm pretty sure. So I hope you feel comfortable. If you have any other questions or concerns, or hear any other rumors, either feel free to call me or come back to the committee
Yeah,
or
and
something like that.
I know
So-
your dad really well, because I've known him for well over 30 years, and I was going to stop by actually and give him the abridged edition before you met tonight, just didn't have the time to.
Yeah.
But I still will, because
Thank you.
there's questions that he might have and you guys might have.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
The whole, this is not about polluting Littleton. This is about trying to help this town by focusing our business growth in a very small compacted area with the least disruption to the rest of the land in town. That's why we're looking at a modular system. That's why we're looking at all different options for trying to clean the water and actually reuse the water.
I completely understand that, and I understand all the DEP regulations, and you can list it as clean drinking water. I'm not concerned about the public health aspect of it at this time. What I'm concerned about is protecting my farm.
Oh, you don't.
And we're getting
yeah.
hammered,
Yeah.
if it's not this, it's that, you name it. And
Well-
it's a constant battle. We fought in eminent domain many times.
Frank, even if you came knocking on our door saying, we want you guys to use our land to.
Don't worry about that.
No, but if you did, it's far enough away from the center of town and the pump station that we would probably have to turn you down.
Well, if Frank.
Good.
and his-
I think you
his
guys ought to
kid-
take and rip down a couple of houses right in the center of town and build the treatment and disposal right up there.
Frank, if
You guys
you're-
friends there?
Yeah.
Non-friends?
We actually want the water to go back into the proper watershed. So it does need to be a little closer on the other side of 495. Because that's one of the things is there's too much water going away from your farm and away from Beaver Brook, and it's not coming back. It's going to Acton. It's going to Concord. So it's part of it is recharging the groundwater, so that we
Which
don't
would
end up with
actually be
sinkholes
good
and
for
stuff
your
like that.
farm too, right? But
But
Yeah.
I gave you my
Well,
card.
option.
I live around the corner from you, and you're on my way home. So if you got any questions, you feel free to call, and I can stop my way home.
We'll see
Okay.
you again, thank you.
thank you for coming.
Great.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yep.
All right,
Thanks so
thanks,
much.
Frank. Thanks,
Thank
Fran.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
If we let anything happen to your farm, my kids would kill me.
My husband too. I love it there. Any other public comments?
Just have a question. Mark Levine,
Yes.
Poplar Avenue. With regard to the nitrate levels that are in the common, when's it been tested? And who tested it, and can we get a report?
I think Savas would be the one to have that information. Anytime it's been brought up, it's coming from Savas.
That's correct.
Anything else? Mr. Simone?
Oh, thank you. Chris Simone, Charles Ridge. Could you direct me to where in the report, or just otherwise, we could read about the projected net tax increase, net tax benefit, if I'm saying that right?
Net tax
Yeah,
benefit.
sorry, long day. So I've, between some of the articles and different materials, I've heard quotes and projections, typically at phase 5. But, and maybe it's just in a table in the report and I missed it. I just scanned it again though and didn't see it. So regardless of that, my question is, could you help us understand what the net tax benefit is as far as the anticipated projected increase in real estate values, and therefore just the flow through to the town in by phase?
I think that would be a big prediction because of the potential build-out that could happen, that we don't know if it will happen, and certainly the sewer system is meant to be built in phases if it happens, but not necessarily build out assuming it will happen. Does that make sense?
But it does. I've heard numbers. I'm just trying to.
Bob, isn't there two tables, isn't it 17 and 18 or 18 and 19, that lay out all the scenarios and all the potential increases in generalities, though? I mean, we're at a point where we can't nail it down too much, but it gives you, if you increase A, will taxes go up or down? If you decrease B, will they go up and down? So I think that's as close as we can get, but you have, as author, you...
I can give you, I believe it's page 63 or 67.
For 17 and 8, those are.
No, well, the 17, the table of the 19 scenarios is the unit cost at 300 gallons a day per property owner, and cost of financing and that sort of thing, and it judges very high or very low risk to the town for whether, the 100 property owners in the district can actually afford this or not. What Chris is referring to is a property tax based on current receipts. So current property tax valuations at full build-out is a $7.3 million increase at full build-out, if and when that ever occurs. However, Don Zizzi, our economist, went back and took a look because the question was, well, what happens between years 1 and 5? And his prediction is that by year 2, the town will see a net increase of about $3 million, and over 5 years, someplace between $3 and $4 million annually will be realized from property tax increases from phase 1.
So that's tax income that basically goes to the general fund.
That's found money for the town of
It's
Littleton.
not the new growth, it's the taxes collected off the new growth, so basically income.
Right, it's found money over and above what's currently collected from those two districts.
And my point is, if we really want to nail those numbers down, if we really want to get a better estimate, we need to take this to the next phase, the next step of the feasibility.
So there's a projection in terms of square footage increase, net property value increase, mainly by way of scale. The building becomes bigger, it becomes more valuable. It generates more real estate tax into the general fund, which would offset some of the liability from this. But
There's no liability.
there's a financial liability.
Okay, let him finish about, yeah.
But that's okay. So it's really nailing that down. And then what I'd like to understand is how much of that net gain and from a revenue standpoint we would otherwise garner without sewer, given the fact that some of that number is the point. And I think I saw in the report that's $2.3 million or something of that.
I think it's 2.2 million, so that's right. So take out of the 7.3, 2.2 million, and that's it.
Okay.
There's no possibility for further increases down there without wastewater.
Yeah, and we implemented design changes and zoning changes in 2010, and to this date, we've seen no businesses, except for the auto dealership, take advantage of those zoning changes to help spur economic development.
And that may in fact be that they're waiting for this. This process could be holding the town back.
It could. That's what we can find out in the next phase.
I wouldn't. I'd wait.
That's fine.
But that was my question. I appreciate it, because I mean, look, it's one thing to say 20 years out, we might see 175,000 square foot net increase in, retail, and this much in commercial, and this much in restaurants, and this many beds of hotels, and as a result, it's 7.3 million. That's a big assumption, and the number's critically important to the business model. As far as being self-sustaining to the town, we've got to understand it. And it's just a hard pill to swallow to say, and in order to understand it, we've got to spend another $558,000 on top of the $185,000 that's already been spent, when we're going to get some of that anyways.
Right.
So but if there is revenue there, and revenue's king, and it's important, I just want to understand it. So I'd be happy to follow up to this meeting if there are sources, or Bob will probably send me an email. And I welcome that, because the numbers are important. It's a big part of
Maybe,
this.
so I think it is a valid point, because like Bob says, when and if that gets built out, that may never happen. So it's important to look at short term. Let's say, okay, if it does all get built out, this is where we're at. If it doesn't all get built out, let's break it down to 2 or 3 other stop points and see where the revenue is. And I think we have the numbers. I think it's just a matter of getting them out there. The only correction I have is when you say 185,000 spent on the report, that much was spent. I just want to make sure that everybody understands, anybody watching that, it's 85,000 of the town's money that's been spent. And
You're absolutely correct, and $100,000 from the Bar Foundation. That's true.
Well, plus another $45,000 over and above that we spent from individual charitable contributions from unrestricted funds.
yeah, that's that basically working kind by CRWA.
Yeah, we had to cover the expenses.
Yeah.
Well, I guess phase one's most relevant. Mr. Zimmerman used the number $3 million as the economist number. If we could drill into that and understand that number, that would be great. Phase one.
Megan, I'm sorry, I ran in from practice. Can you make a note that we should add that to our, because I did the financial part last time, so if we
Yeah.
could try to get that added into
Just
the
stick around, you'll see a lot of this.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me ask.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming tonight. I have to write with a highlighter because I don't have a pen.
You ran on
Here,
that.
you want a pen?
That would be so great. It's embarrassing. Okay, so, any other questions from the public? No, okay, great, moving on. Thank you so much. I have minutes that were emailed out to the committee for July 30th. And that was a meeting that did not have a quorum, but had some discussion which was noted in these minutes. Does anybody need to see a copy, or did you see the email today?
See that? Yeah. And this is the other side of it.
Just like to know if it's okay to approve these as is.
Since I wasn't at that meeting, I can't say yes or no. Only
The
the,
minutes, do they have any typos or anything?
I think it sounds like whoever was at that meeting, it's a good representation of what took place.
I think it is, there was no meeting, so there are no minutes. I think if we call this record of discussion and don't approve them,
Right.
But if you don't approve them, then how do you know that it was discussed someplace? So something needs to be on it.
they cannot be approved because there was no meeting, so therefore there are no
But
minutes.
There needs to be some kind of date that it was brought before the committee, and the committee was made aware of it.
A record of discussion, yeah. And,
So,
these were presented for, these
So they
were,
still be posted to the
Yeah.
public?
you can, but I think there's a danger in calling, because there was no meeting, if you call them a minutes, there's a danger of someone calling a violation of the open meeting law.
But we
Do we
do,
need to move to recognize that we have a record of discussion from such and such a date?
I could just change, instead of meeting minutes, I could say meeting record of discussion and leave everything else as is.
And just say, let these minutes reflect that you presented the board with these minutes, and they will be added to the website.
Yeah,
Or these record of discussion you
We do
presented.
sometimes when there's a problem like this, or not a problem, a comment like this, is you'll have the author sign the bottom saying, this is my recap of what took place, and with the signature.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then posted.
I just want to have them out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't do a technical approval of minutes that don't exist, and then Janet was kind enough to email out the August 20th minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at those today?
Did.
And Rich did most of it, I just added onto his.
Yeah. Jen did a great job.
I just noticed that Massachusetts is misspelled.
I didn't type that one.
Yeah, that
I just want to say that, that's not my part.
Anyway, so I can go into Word and correct that, amend it and submit it, and anything else? Any other typos?
You know, the other thing I was thinking, just because it looks kind of funny on the website, and so we don't get faulted at a later date, it says meeting was posted at the town offices, which it was, but can we put something, but was not posted on the website, just so in case someone goes back at a later date and says, never posted, in fact it was posted, we know it was, just to call it out.
Just say but not online?
Yeah, maybe something
Okay.
to that effect.
And I did ask Jen to post them online, so that might change though, if she goes back and posts it. Do you know what I mean? I emailed her
Not
today.
currently online or something like that.
Yeah.
Or not online at the time. of the
Yeah,
At the
meeting.
time.
yeah, something like
At the
that.
time. Okay,
Just so it doesn't look like, you know,
sure.
all of a sudden minutes appear and nothing was ever posted.
Yep,
Mhm.
okay. Anything else anyone have about this?
I just want to, and this is something I wasn't sure of, I added this in Rich's list of numbers. I put the possible forums, possible forum for property owners, 10-5, if the resource room is available, because that's something that both
Yep, that was,
both of us had down, so
mhm.
I
That was
didn't know
discussed.
if.
That was
If we-
discussed that night, so I think we should leave it in the minutes, and then I have some new information about that on the
Okay.
agenda tonight.
Okay.
I'll move to approve
Great.
as amended.
Any seconds? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, now, you were gonna look into maybe a budget update?
Yeah, I was on vacation last week, just
Okay.
like, so hopefully we can get to it, Bonnie, so.
Okay, so we'll move on then. So the property owner breakfast get-togethers that we wanted, I did ask Jen if the multi-purpose room would be available on October 5th. It's not available until after 10 a.m. What does everybody think about having a breakfast for the property owners after 10 a.m. or at 10 a.m. in the multi-purpose room on October 5th?
I don't think we would have had it much earlier than that. I thought maybe the time would have been 9, but I don't think.
I think we had reserved it for 9 on the 28th of September.
If we can get it at 10 a.m., we wouldn't be set up till 10:30. Call it brunch.
Yeah, it'd definitely be like a brunch.
Can everybody make the 5th? Somebody?
I can.
Oh, you can't make it. Anyone else?
Are you okay with us doing it without you?
Yeah.
I'm teaching that day, so I can't make it either.
And can you make it?
I imagine so, it's, yeah, after soccer.
The 28th was our original date, which is reserved for 9 a.m. And that's the day that I'm out of town.
And I won't be there by 9. I can't make that 9.
Okay. So,
I don't think a lot of people won't necessarily want to be up by 9.
Up by 9. Don't you have little ones?
Oh, I do,
Oh,
but I'm talking about people who are.
yeah.
yeah, I just don't know if anybody has a strong sense of which day we should.
I think October 5th, I think it's, I think Rich and Janet both have, are very
They have a
valuable.
commitment.
But I think both valuable, but if they don't have a problem with us moving on without them, I think it's more important to have the chair there.
Absolutely. I
Do you know
agree.
what Steve's commitment
I thought he was wavering on that day. I thought he said something about a course or something.
Yeah, he had some training or something, yeah.
I bet Warren Terrell will be back in town too.
Yeah.
So he probably can go.
was? Steve wasn't sure which day he had the commitment on.
Yeah.
He said he had the
He
same
had
one.
them both days. So
Yeah,
it's-
so if you can check with him and find out if he's
Rich, can you
available.
text him
this detective.
Steve Moore?
And basically having a quorum there would be good.
Do we need a quorum?
No, I meant in
I
terms of.
think we should, I think.
I meant in terms of, having enough people to speak to people who are there.
Which
So
is,
nobody-
which you see feels a quorum,
So nobody feels ignored.
I don't think Steve Yonley will be available that day.
No.
His kids are all in sports all day.
Okay.
So who else is left? Steve Moore might not be, Warren might be.
Yeah, so there's Rich, Ted, Dino, Warren, Peter Castaneri.
Okay.
You might be able to go.
Rich
Yeah.
can go.
Rich
Oh,
can't go.
I was just naming people on the committee. But yeah, Peter Castaneri might be able to go, Ted, myself, Dina, possibly Steve,
And Warren.
and Warren.
I mean, if it turns out that I'm the quorum, I mean, that's
Mhm.
where I have to fall.
Or do you want to do it on an evening?
Okay, thank you.
You think an evening's better? Better than on Saturday?
We had, when we first talked about this, I think we had a discussion about having a breakfast, and we thought that would bring more property owners because of family and business. If you're running a business, the weekday is probably tough, and then the weekends, you want to be with your family, but maybe a breakfast, a quick thing, not a huge commitment.
9:20 or
I think
10:05?
that was why we
Yeah.
picked the breakfast.
Yeah, either one.
So,
I think we're leaning toward 10:05.
all right, I guess that I would then say that, to me, it sounds like people are saying October 5th, starting at, we could get the room at 10, and then we want people to come at 10:30. I don't know about calling it a brunch, though, like coffee.
No, I wouldn't advertise too much. I think, say light snacks, will be light refreshments will be served, something like that. We don't want to oversell this.
Well,
Don't
I'm gonna
oversell
tell Jen to reserve the multi-purpose room, 10 a.m. on October 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that have we determined that, do we need to vote on that? Or we just need to agree that that's good? No.
I don't know if we know if we have a quorum yet, or
Okay.
if we need a quorum.
Well, for a forum, I don't know why you would need a quorum.
I meant at least
Yeah.
like 4 people.
Yeah.
We won't be discussing anything, and making any decisions that we'll be voting on.
Yeah, no, it wasn't in terms of needing to have a minimum number for a meeting, it was in terms of, if we have 5 or 6 property owners there, because there are 90 property owners out there?
Yeah.
96, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah, if 40 people show up and they all have questions,
Oh, yeah.
you need people there to answer the questions.
Mhm.
And have them not feel ignored.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, so we need a certain number of people available to talk to them.
I think we're looking at 4 or 5, no matter what day, whether it's
10
20th
is
or the
good,
5th. I
right?
think we're looking at 4 or 5. And again, I just fall back on when the chair is available.
And it's probably important to have you there, be a figurehead.
Yeah, and Steve Yonley's the assistant chair. Yes, Mr. Snow?
Where do the funds come from, even though it's not
Oh, for
very
this
expensive?
meeting?
Yeah, can that come out of the budget of the committee?
We were
or-
just gonna, I was gonna pick something up out of like our pocket. We don't really have, I don't think, we were gonna talk about our budget tonight. We do have a little bit of money left over in our budget. If we don't have to spend it, we weren't. The postage for this will be probably the biggest expense that's gonna come out of the remaining funds that we have. Because we didn't use all of our,
And those are going by postcard to reduce
yeah.
costs. Yeah, and then, I was assuming the same on the refreshments, but I'll chip in 10, 15
Yeah, I was
bucks,
just gonna go
whatever.
grab.
We're just gonna, like I said, I don't want to sell it as a brunch or breakfast. I think we're just gonna get a couple, what do they call it, coffees from Dunkin'
Yeah.
and a couple dozen donuts or
Yeah.
something.
We just wanna meet with the property owners face to face if we can. So
So the funds.
I'm happy to pick up donuts myself to do that.
And it isn't or isn't an open meeting?
This will be open to the
It's a
public.
forum, it's a public thing.
Yeah.
But is it an open meeting with respect to the governance of the board or not?
It will probably not be a meeting.
But
It'll be a forum.
It'll probably
I
be
can-
posted,
I
just
can
in
ask
case
Diana
Yeah.
Corey
a
these
quorum
questions
comes.
too.
Yeah, actually, Rich makes a good point. It should be posted, but if it doesn't, if we don't, in case we do get a quorum.
It'll be posted as a forum, community forum.
But obviously, everybody is, we're not asking for business licenses to get in the door.
Now, Megan, I presume we'll have some sort of PowerPoint or handouts?
Well, that's something we should discuss right now, because what I want to pin down is the wording on the invitation, because I want to get that out to Keith tonight or tomorrow, so that he can work on mailing out the invitations, the postcard. So that I want to do, and then we still, I believe, have another meeting that, if we're going to push this out to October 5th, we have October 1st to talk about what we're going to do. But we certainly can talk about, like, what we can talk about what's
Alright.
going to happen at the meeting. But
Yeah.
can we get the invitation wording?
Yeah, let's get the wording on, sure. Did you,
Yeah, so we were gonna put something catchy on the front of it. Are you interested in sewer? A property owner, are you interested in sewer? Like, what should we say? So if you were a property owner and you got something in the mail and we don't want them to just toss it aside.
have you heard about the potential sewer project, sewer study and the potential sewer feasibility sewer project in Littleton? Do you want to know more? Or
I'd
just
be
go
more
to,
specific- I'd be more specific like that than,
So we could do a big, like, have you heard? And then, like, right below that, about a potential
sewer project.
sewer project in Littleton.
You're getting this postcard because it could affect you.
or do you want to learn more? Come, and then on the back, or turn over if you want to learn more,
With an
or
arrow.
whatever.
Do you want
And then
to
on the
word
back
down?
you say, business forum at, on the back, business, forum focused on business owners somehow, October 5th, 10,
I think
15th,
the
whatever.
line, you're getting this postcard because it could affect you.
Bob?
Just a recommendation.
Yes, please.
Why don't you just put in bold letters sewer with a question mark next to it? And then you can get into writing War and Peace below it and on the back or whatever.
Okay, so.
Everybody in town has heard of
Yeah,
this in one
so
form or another.
front side is sewer question mark, and then you flip it over and there's a small paragraph that says, have you heard about a potential sewer project in Littleton? Do you want to learn more? Please consider attending our.
I do sewer on the front, would you like to learn more below it? And then on the other side, just say, forum is focusing on business owners' concerns. Please bring your questions, October 5th to this day.
This isn't business owners, this is property owners.
Property owners, okay, yeah, property,
And-
well,
But
same.
that's my
But it's only
comment
a
about
postcard.
letting
It's
them
only a
know,
postcard.
but letting them
I know.
know that
Yeah.
they're getting it, nobody, they're getting it because they're going to be affected.
I want to keep it,
Or could be
very
affected.
informative, but not a lot of words, because if it's too much, people aren't going to read it,
Yeah.
So I think sewer question mark, maybe a small, would you like to learn more? And then on the back, please come, dear property owner in the common,
Very good.
They're property owners.
Yeah.
They're property owners.
dear property owner, actually, please,
Let's leave that out.
hmm?
Oh, go ahead.
please come and talk to the.
Or you're invited. I think that's more welcoming than please come.
You
Like, we're
are,
doing this for you, we're not telling you to come here, we're
you
doing this.
are invited.
Cordially invited.
Or
Cordially.
say,
Do you
come
have
to,
have cordials?
oh no, just come to our forum focused on property owners' concerns come with your questions to the forum to focus on property owners' concerns.
Or,
I don't know, do you?
how about you are cordially invited to find out about how.
That sounds like every other one, and it sounds like
Yeah, that
you're
sounded-
selling
that-
something.
Yeah, that
Of
sounded like
how
a sales call.
sewering might affect your property.
Okay, I have it.
Executive
I wish I had
decision.
my laptop so I could type this, because I can't write very fast. Dear property owner, you are invited to the Littleton Common Sewer Feasibility Study Committee's Property Owner Forum to ask your questions and have discussion, or something like that.
Yeah, smooth that out.
Ask questions and
And
Talk,
open discussion.
talk with us.
Meet the committee.
throw tomatoes.
The committee, talk
No,
with
no,
us,
they're staying.
and meet the committee. And then, after that, we'll say 10:30, we'll say October 5th, 2013, 10:30
The 12th?
Yeah.
to 12. I'll double check with Jen about how much time we do have. And then location, multi-purpose room, and refreshments will be served.
Light refreshments.
Anything else?
A multi-purpose room, should you say at rear of town hall?
Multi-purpose room, rear of town hall?
37 Shack Street.
Yeah.
See how it fits. Cut down anything that doesn't
Well,
fit to get,
we're
we get the
sewer,
facts in there.
question mark. Yes, this could affect you. On the-
That wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah. Sewer, question mark.
Okay, the big question is it E or AF?
What?
Effect A.
It could,
You know who knew this is Ken Smith.
It's an A.
You questioning me?
No, green.
No, her.
No, it's just one of those things that
I only have the
still
confidence
like-
because 2 people already told me I was right.
Yes, this could affect you.
It could have an effect on you, though.
Look it up on your phone.
it's a direct object
Or this could affect, with an E.
This
your
could
property
what?
values.
effect, so it's A.
The way I
How
remember
about
is the progressive
impact?
effects.
Yeah.
I love
that's it.
impact. This could impact you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
See if they can incorporate the town logo on that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's why there are
So they know that's
450,000 words in the English language.
Yeah. That's great.
Do you want me to
So-
just read this again?
No, I think so. Oh, you? Yeah.
Sewer, yes, this could affect you or impact you. Dear property owner, you are invited to the LCSFSCS's property owner forum to ask your questions and talk with us and meet the committee. October 5th, 10:30 to 12, multi-purpose room, 37 Shattuck Street, light refreshments will be served. Anything else?
That's clean.
You might want to make it meet the committee and talk with us. That'd be a little smoother.
Yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
your questions, comma, meet the committee and talk with us?
Yeah, and I take out the beginning of the, I take the LCSFC, whatever we are, out of the top and put it in the way you have committee in the second one.
So wait, you are invited to the Littleton Commons property. The
You're open to a
Littleton-
property forum. Take all out of the top, put it in the bottom.
Oh, really? You
You know
know
what
what I
is the
say?
property owners forum?
Yeah.
You were
Hosted by-
invited to
There's
the
someone, yeah.
property owner forum.
Please, yeah. I don't know, whatever you want. Figure, I'll trust you. Go ahead. It's not gonna change whether or not someone shows up.
Well, you can also,
I just thought it was a little
Can we
verbose
do
having it at
exact-
the beginning.
yeah, can we let Megan type it into a computer and send it out an email and?
I trust her to see how it fits and
If
she
you
has
want.
the gist,
Okay, yeah.
I think.
I would nominate one person for her to send it to
Well,
her edits.
What about Keith? I mean, Keith can,
Actually, yeah, Keith
Yeah,
Keith
keep
can
it.
help, yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Do you want to send it by Dina? That's fine.
Yep.
okay.
Cruising through this agenda.
Alrighty, now, let's talk about what we want to do at this meeting and how we want to be prepared. And you mentioned the PowerPoint. Is that too much or just handouts fine? We still have handouts. I have, I think, a bag of handouts that are from the various things.
That's perfect, yeah, yeah. Part of those handouts show the map of A and B. Some describe the zoning changes. I think we have one there that has the soil studies, or the soils in the area. That sort of stuff, third handout. Just pieces of the study.
Does everybody think the PowerPoint would be too much of this?
No, I think paring down the PowerPoint that we've used to focus on the information they need
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
be suitable.
I
If,
don't think we're definitely gonna get everybody all at once for this. I think
Yeah.
people are gonna go in and out, maybe having the PowerPoint available on a laptop or two, so we can use it as a discussion point.
Mhm.
or have it just play as a slideshow.
I think you're right about not everyone showing up at the same time. I think that if we start at 10:15, 10:30, I say a half hour into it, after talking to people, there should be some sort of presentation just to get everything out there, because if we're all having side conversations, not everybody's gonna get all the information. So I think there's a little social time and then go into the presentation, and if people wanna socialize or leave. But I think, yeah, I think you're like, right, at 10:30, whatever we say, that first half hour, people are gonna arrive, and then, hit them at 11 o'clock, and
Or possibly move it up if it looks like they're getting bored and trying to-
yeah, but whatever, I think we need to have some formal, here it is.
Okay, probably like, what, 5 to 7 minutes?
Oh, yeah, really pare it down.
Who
Like,
will have the PowerPoint and the laptop?
I have a very small laptop, so that wouldn't be good, but,
we can get one from Light and Water, I've borrowed them before.
okay.
Or maybe Keith? Maybe there's one floating around town hall somewhere.
Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah.
Light and Water has some that are there for borrowing.
Then that's what we do. Chase that one first.
Yeah, that's what I recommend.
Okay.
And do we need we have the screen here that we can just set up down there. That's easy enough.
Or do they have white walls?
But
Like
what about a
paintings all over
projector?
the walls down there.
Is all
Does the town have a projector we can use? Is that the town's projector?
There
Or
is
that
one.
yours?
There is a projector.
That's Bob's.
There is a projector, though. It has to be, we use them all the time. Yeah.
So talk to Keith about getting the town projector and laptop.
Okay. I can-
But Sabas will let you take that thing out for a couple of weeks, so you could get it next week and have it until after the presentation, as long as he understands that you need it that long.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anything else we want to talk about the property owner breakfast today? I'll have Keith send the postcard out. We said we wanted to print the invitations by the 5th and have them go out. Now, does that date, should we have that changed since it's October 5th, or is that still pretty good? That'll give people 3 weeks' notice.
That
By the
might
time
be,
they get it.
that might be
That's good.
too far in
You
advance.
think?
I think 2 weeks would probably be just the right amount. 3 weeks is kind of out there.
Well, having sent things by Littleton Post Office, it takes 3 or 4 days. You can-
Yeah, postcards don't get priority either, I don't think.
Yeah. So as long as, I think we'd need to mail it by the 10th anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All righty.
It's still 25 days, it's still 3 weeks out
No, that's the mailing date.
The mailing date, then they'll get it a
someplace.
week later on the 17th,
So
and
they
then
get
they'll have
probably 20
about
days.
2.5 weeks. So that's good, yeah, that's good. All right, and then,
I think that's too far out.
oh, you think it's too far
I
out?
still think it's too far out, yeah.
It's a-
I would knock a week off that,
Well, we were originally saying to mail them out on the 7th,
yeah.
so that's a 3-day.
And if we
But that
can-
was, yeah, that was for the public forum for the 17th, which is 10 days later.
No,
No, that was for the 28th.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right, yeah.
because we need a
20
lot of
days
time
later.
to get there, but
Okay.
also like my schedule, you tell me something 2 weeks in
Yeah.
advance, I'm already booked.
Right.
Okay, all right, yeah. Then I'm okay with that. Those dates.
Mail out. Okay. All right, so anything else on the property owner breakfast preparation that you can think of? All right, well, let's move on to our public information forum preparation. You had emailed the Littleton Independent, and Danielle was here tonight, so
Yes, yeah.
that's
Yeah,
good.
so
Then
that's-
they are aware of our dates and what's going on.
Yeah.
The PowerPoint, I had sent a link out of to the PowerPoint. Bob has helped kind of revise and pare down a PowerPoint, which he was gonna give to us this evening, so that we can view it, discuss it, see if it's something that maybe would be more efficient for us to use. So I think that I'd like to, if that's okay with the committee, turn it over to Bob and let him do a quick presentation that might be a nice example for us to use. So, okay?
I'm okay with that.
All
So he's
right.
gonna revise the slides for us to present.
Yeah.
Yep,
I did not hear back from the CRWA person that you gave me.
so I'm gonna,
For,
I'd like to see it before and after.
That's in here. I'm just gonna, you guys can use this as you wish.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna do it now?
You wanna, can we set that up? Yeah, I'm all
Oh,
set up
yeah.
to just project it right
Yeah.
there? Okay.
all right, I'm gonna move out and go around this side.
So the key here would be, we completely rebuilt this thing. And now the question is whether I can remember the intern's
Try password.
password. I am good.
Do we need the dim lights?
I just emailed someone to see if. Give her that.
Anybody else use a Wintel machine? I use a Mac, and I don't know where you hit to get the PowerPoint, or the slideshow thing started.
Oh,
Oh, here, I got it.
it looks like a screen.
There we go.
I was having trouble getting the old one to load on the Mac.
Oh, yeah, good.
We couldn't get the Mac to work with this machine today. Was the problem. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, well, that's the first slide. Second slide. Dina
Oh, we got,
and Steve, I don't know your last name, so you're gonna have to
Steve
fill
Moore.
those in. I couldn't
Yeah,
remember the say
Dina
that.
Flocker.
Huh?
Flockhart.
Flockhart.
And
Oh.
Steve is Moore, I believe.
yes.
Okay. Well, that's easy enough. Okay, so the actual presentation, the preamble, would start here with the history and the reason beginning in 2000, 2001, 2002, concerns were raised for the town to begin to think about how it's going to spike commercial property taxes, okay? So first is residential property tax increases over the last 13 years. I don't know about you, but mine have increased by more than 4 times. Reduced teachers in our schools. I don't know about you, but I know when my kids started Littleton schools, we averaged 19 kids per class. We're currently between 25 and 27.
That's right.
We have reduced police and fire personnel, reduced highway maintenance budgets, increased pressure to sprawl, few commercial options for common store owners. If you're on a septic system, what you see pretty much is what you get. And we have becoming serious water quality and quantity issues, particularly Beaver Brook and nitrate levels in the common area, which according to Margot Weber at DEP are between 5 and 7 milligrams per liter, which is a concern. They
Okay, so
drink-
that's not Savos, that's.
Well, it's Savas, and he has to report to them, but Margot Weber is the person he reports to.
The point of the history slide was originally to tell you, see how we got to this point.
Well, then you go to this.
Okay.
Okay, so the first is the concerns, and the second is the process. Okay, so 2002, you have a master plan adopted. 0405, there was an economic development committee reporting to the Board of Selectmen. In 2008, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council was retained to make recommendations on what might be done to increase commercial property taxes and industrial property taxes for the town. If you skip down to 2010, in the Maytown meeting, 2 overlay districts were approved, and the formation of the Littleton Common Sewer Feasibility Study Committee was approved. And then in 2012, the Littleton, Massachusetts Smart Sewering Strategy was completed. Okay, so the introduction from MAPC was to develop new zoning regulations. That's been done. It's designed specifically to promote greater density in the common area and in the industrial overlay zone directly to its west, to spike economic development in the town center, thereby reducing pressure outside of the town center to sprawl. The idea also was to encourage a vibrant mixed-use village center. Mixed use means both commercial and residential uses in the town center, and focus growth near the village center in order to, and I don't know what those other words are there, but we'll have to figure that one out.
Decrease pressure to sprawl.
Yeah, decrease pressure to sprawl, I'm sure, or something like that. The picture on the left, by the way, was picked by MAPC to represent the kind of town center that the folks who voted looked at and favored at the 2010 town meeting. And the picture on the right, obviously, is the preservation of agricultural and forested open space outside the common center. Okay, and then there are, what was done at the 2010 meeting. One is these two areas, and then CRWA's interest are the list on the side, and it was also the same list that we negotiated with the Sewer Feasibility Study Committee, which is growth control, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, restore the water balance and the natural water cycle in town, particularly toward Beaver Brook and toward our wells, reduce the waste from wastewater. And this is where we get into changes about conventional versus smart sewer systems, and right-sized or phased construction, which is the other significant difference between the Littleton proposal and other conventional sewer proposals. Now, there are way too many words on these slides, but we listed them to give you some sense of the kinds of things that you might want to consider, and you can reduce this down to the 2 or 3 or 4 word sort of bullet points. But the background for smart sewering is that it was developed by CRWA over a period of about 30 years, studying suburban and urban water systems. It combines multiple existing technologies. There are no technologies introduced here that aren't tried and true. Haven't been around for a long time. They've all been around for a long time. I will add, however, they are becoming a lot more efficient. A lot of energy is being expended to make them more effective. And our interest, CRWA's interest as an environmental organization, is the impact that traditional conventional sewer systems have on the water environment. And it is manifest. It moves water from one place, you take it out of the ground, you use it a second, and you throw it away someplace a long ways away from where you took it. Water balance is thrown out of budget. And as a matter of fact, Beaver Brook is negatively impacted and drawn down. Water infrastructure is currently built, uses a tremendous amount of energy. So there are greenhouse gas emissions associated with this. If you look in Cambridge, if you combine the electric generation used by MIT and Cambridge, the Cambridge water treatment plant uses more than both of those institutions combined. Traditional sewering, because it tends to do entire areas, entire towns, encourages sprawl. It doesn't reduce the impact of sprawl. And finally, traditional wastewater treatment wastes a lot of organics that could be used to generate clean energy. Again, too many words, but the principles of smart sewering are these. 1, use smart growth objectives. That is, dense walking village centers, reduce the likelihood of sprawl. That is, non-dense, cover a lot of land. Return treated effluent to the ground near where it was withdrawn. Obviate the impact of the withdrawal of the water. In effect, make the use of the water a bend in the river. So we bend the river into our businesses, we use the water, we treat it, we put it back into constructed wetlands, into the same subwatersheds it was taken from. In this way, we actually enhance water quality in Beaver Brook, and we restore normal flow. I'm going to show you a slide here in a minute of the impact on Beaver Brook of water withdrawals. You want to use food waste and other organics in the wastewater to produce methane, capture that methane, and generate energy. You want to look at the sludge produced by a wastewater treatment plant for all opportunities for reuse, and particularly in this instance, phosphorus. Phosphorus is an element we're running out of. It's becoming more expensive as we speak, and there are opportunities to recapture phosphorus from the sludge and use it for fertilizer for resale. You want to consider the transfer of development rights. That is, as income from property taxes spikes, to set aside a portion of that income to actually buy development rights, not buy the property, but the development rights on the properties that you'd like to see preserved. That is agricultural and forested open space. So the town would actually acquire, by paying in fee simple to the farmer or property owner, his right to develop homes or whatever else is allowed under current zoning, keep that land in agricultural and forest production, and the town holds on to those development rights. Now, one of the things that the town could do is resell those development rights for density bonuses in the town center. But that's not currently being proposed. That's just a possibility for some time in the future. And lastly, to phase capital investment. The biggest single problem with conventional sewering and risks to the town is that we look out 20 years and think about what we're going to build 20 years from now, or what we're going to need for treatment 20 years from now, and we come back to the present and we build that capacity now. That's how the towns of Tewksbury, Groton, and Acton got in big trouble. They have wastewater treatment plants with the capacity to treat 5 times the water they currently are receiving. So as a consequence, they cannot pay back the debt service. We're recommending that Littleton phase its investment based on actual demand plus a little to allow for modest growth, and then to allow for modular units to be added to the treatment plant such that at the cost of those who want to expand their businesses, we expand the treatment plant. That way the risk to Littleton taxpayers is extremely low. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm saying that compared to conventional sewering, it is extremely low.
So it's case in point, if IBM wants to put in a double the size of their system, then they would pick up a proportionate amount of the infrastructure capital cost.
The key, we'll get into, remember that point when we get into the actual costs of the system, because I want to cycle back around to that. Here's another slide on smart versus typical sewering. I'm not sure that you really want to use this, but you should read down through this, and it goes point by point, the major issues. You know, natural hydrology is altered in conventional sewering. It's restored in smart sewering. Renewable energy is potentially available, but currently not used by any such systems that I'm aware of east of the Mississippi River. I don't know anything about west of the Mississippi River.
Montague.
Are they generating energy from wastewater? I know of food waste generation, but I don't know of wastewater to energy generation. Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah, so no, that's good. I want to talk about with the content rather than go through it. You were kind of giving it, which we all
Okay. Then you got the graphics that Natural System Utilities put together, which is all waste and conventional treatment process versus mostly all return in the smart sewer process, where we recapture the carbon, water, and generate income from the nutrients involved in wastewater. And ultimately what we do is just discharge the water back to the ground it came from. Okay, so the next slides are all about, is smart sewering right for Littleton? Okay? That the objectives are, 1, to control growth, that there are manifest environmental benefits associated with this, actually improving surface water quality and reducing greenhouse gas emissions fairly significantly, by the way, and a series of economic benefits. Ted?
Yeah, I think there should be a new title on that, because when we say, is smart sewing right for Littleton, we're trying, and it looks like we're trying to lead them to the question of yes. I think we could say, how does smart sewing benefit Littleton?
Good
If
point.
that's a little bit different, a little different take on it.
Okay.
Or smart sewing benefits for Littleton.
Yeah, something like that, rather than saying, look, we're trying to lead you on this. It may be a subtle change, and it may,
And you'll notice in the map on the side there are all of the major users of water, and therefore the generators of wastewater in town, including the town office buildings and the school, by gallons. And then here, within the two districts, are the major users. And they're identified by color and by actual property.
Could we pause here, because I had a back and forth conversation with Savis, and I had some stressful things happen at work and could not wrap my head around his explanation. And could I just have you read what he said and see if someone could explain to
Sure.
him? And it has to do with this graph. So when we sent this graph out, Savis said, folks, the chart reflects build out at the point with a limitation of 55,000 gallons per day based on septic system capacity. I believe that's the number. If there is no septic system limitation, then that would be one less restriction users at the point, FYI. And I just said, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Please explain a different way, rephrase. And he said, yes, the point is limited regarding their size and complexity by the septic system and treatment plant design for the site that maximizes the discharge based on our existing overlay district bylaw. That limit of size has been set at 55,000 gallons per day. Now, if there was no septic system and they were tied to a community sewer system, they would have limitations regarding building size and parking lot, but not septic capacity. So could you just
I
explain
get it.
that to me?
Basically, the current zoning allows them to treat, what was it, 55,000 gallons a day at their site. If there was a community smart sewing option, then that limitation would no longer be enforced, because they wouldn't be limited to the disposal capacity of their land.
Well, that's sort of true.
I think you made the right point. I think you said they're limited by zoning. Right now, they're limited by permit of how much water they can dispose of.
Right.
So they're limited by the capacity of their system.
Yeah.
If they hook up to a system with theoretically, not unlimited capacity, but so that they'll be able to have a greater capacity than they could have on their land if they hook up to sewer.
If they stay private, they'll stay limited. If they join with the town of Littleton for a community project, that limitation will go away.
Well, yeah, but that assumes that Littleton is going to be building new capacity for the point, which is not the case. This whole program assumes that the current plant at Wells IBM and the plant that's under construction at the point would be subsumed into the community system.
Mm-hmm.
The town is only going to be building an additional 30,000 gallons over and above that in phase one.
In phase one.
So those two plants, plus a site for, full expansion over time, but initially only 30,000 gallons, would represent the entire capacity of the Littleton system, right?
But we're saying that if the point wanted to pay those betterment fees to fund additional capacity,
They could do that. Yes.
And at that point, they're limited to their permit according to what they can build up there.
Right,
But
so they
as
would
far as
then,
what
so
kind
then
of
the town would have the
buildings.
55,000 gallons on their site. This is not a septic system, by the way. This is a full-blown wastewater treatment
Yeah.
plant that's going to require a level 4 operator, right? If they wanted, another 30,000 gallons, then they would have to negotiate with the town and with the sewer plant operator to add that capacity at the site.
So for me to understand, and just regurgitate back, if there's two different types of limits. One of the limits, it has to do with the bylaw, just the bylaw.
It's in an aquifer district, so they're limited to 6 gallons per 1,000 square feet of discharge.
Okay, and then the other, so But that limit can be taken away if there's a town sewer, and then if there was a town sewer, then they would be still limited by their building size and parking lot.
Right, because you can only put so many square feet of buildings on
So is it a
that
moot
lot.
point then, or is it, does it give you some, does it give?
No,
you
that's a
some-
zoning
this-
issue.
This point, what he's saying, I think
But-
this point could take up, that it could increase.
It could
Yeah.
increase.
They're under a special permit right now, so the buildings that are on their drawing are what they have. They'd have to come back and
So
modify the
this
special
assumes
permit.
that they will not increase their flow when they hook up to sewer.
Right.
Is that something we should be assuming?
No,
So
certainly not in
But that's-
phase
that's in
one.
phases.
Yeah,
That's
that's not, certainly
phases.
not in phase one. I mean, if there is, I mean, Rich is correct, they're under a special permit. If they want to negotiate a new permit with the town, go back to the planning board or the zoning board and/or the zoning board of appeals and go through all of that process,
To build-
then
put a
negotiate
building in.
additional. I mean, there's a lot of,
Well,
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think this assumption is good for phase one.
for phase one, what you see is what you get
Yeah.
here, okay?
There's
Okay.
too many hurdles for them to
Would you guys take
change
input at
anything.
this stage, or
Excuse me?
wait till the end?
No, I'm
Well,
fine with it. It's a small enough.
Doesn't check,
thing.
I mean, so the point system is, according to Stan Parks, who presented to the selectmen, I think, on June 13th, it's built to 100,000 gallon per day capacity, his system. And
Is that what he said at
And
the
he's gonna
selectmen's
use
meeting?
55,000.
Well, that's a state requirement. He's
Okay.
got to have double the capacity of his actual use.
So he's got in the ground today, he said it'll be done in October or November, capacity for 100,000 gallons per day. He's building to the need of 55,000.
Right.
So to get from 55 to 100 at 13,000 or to 13,500 per EDU, 300 gallons per day output in your numbers, that's a big number. A. B, how big do we need the point to be? It's gonna be pretty big
Well,
when he
right
gets
now-
done moving dirt
right
around.
now-
Wait a minute, I think, let's go back to this
From
for
a
a
scale
minute.
standpoint,
Yeah.
how big, it's a question for Dina, I'm sorry, I'm directing it to you, Richard. How big do we need as a town the point to be?
Part of it is you can increase your water use without increasing your square footage by changing the type of business. You know, a restaurant uses more water than a clothing store.
Yep.
So if,
The point is going to be significant, and that's gonna be a wonderful thing for us as
right,
a
and
town,
I'm
very
saying
excited.
that.
How much bigger does it need to be? And even if it does need to be bigger, he's got a system that can handle 100,000 gallons per day.
He can't use that, he can only use 55 because the state requires him to have excess capacity.
For
The
peak
state.
flows.
So if he
Yes.
was using 100,000,
So-
would he have to build another 100,000 to double it?
Yes, absolutely correct.
So,
And what I'm saying is, his water use may increase without increasing his building and parking by changing the uses within his
Yeah.
mixed use.
Say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever, he takes a couple of the small boutique
Yeah.
stores and turns them into small boutique restaurants.
Or, you know, a daycare, depending
Oh,
on
yeah.
the age of the daycare,
Yeah,
you know, if they start washing their diapers
yeah,
and, you know, things like that there,
yeah.
the amount of water use would go up hugely.
But to get to your
Well,
other
the building
point,
would be
Chris,
bigger.
which is, how big does the point need to be? Meaning, you know, what if they come back to the town and they've decided to double the density on that site? That then is not a wastewater question. That's the special permit, it's the planning board, it's the zoning board of appeals, it's all of the other growth control elements that zoning allows, that our zoning currently allows, you know, with the new overlay district. So it's sort of a separate argument,
And what-
if you follow what I'm saying.
I do, but from an economic development standpoint, let's hope the point is successful. We all want it to be successful. And there's a significant, you know, net increase to tax revenue to the town. $2 million is a lot of money. As it stands, without this, without all of this, we're doing well if the point succeeds, and we hope it does. So a conversation about catalysts for scale at the point, given all the other priorities you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, a little curious.
No, it's something she just wanted to understand.
Yeah. I'm more directing it to Dina, to
Yeah.
the comments you made, not to the fine question.
Well, I mean, the point is that there is no anticipation of further growth at the point. There may be changes of use, but beyond that, it is what it is.
So the bottom
But
line
it does,
is
it does
that
give you
that water
some sense
usage-
of the scale
Yeah.
of, so when folks are concerned about the 100 property owners being able to pay for this, if you look at that, 80% of the use, 75–80% of the use is two major property owners.
Right. Which exists today without SOAR.
That's correct.
Yep.
And those plants are incorporated into the system. Now, why is that good for them?
Because they don't want to operate sewer.
Because they don't
wastewater
want to
treatment
operate
plants.
sewer. If you look at that, under current law in Massachusetts, 314 CMR, whatever it is, the point has to hire a $120,000 to $160,000 a year operator, do maintenance and operations and all that kind of stuff. Wells IBM has to do exactly the same thing.
Plus wells.
And then the town comes in and subsumes all of them into a single operating unit. You get economies of scale. The town gets to operate all of those with one $120,000 to $160,000 operator, subsumes all of the operations and maintenance fees, actually makes money on the point in Wells IBM while making money, while they're saving money. So the town makes money and they save money. There's an interest. All of the private property owners that I've talked to want out of the wastewater business if they can get out.
Because it's expensive and risky, and that will be transferred to this municipality.
I'm not
There's
sure
a reason-
risky is in there, very
Well,
fine, and Wells
well,
IBM
you know,
have operated their
Well,
plants for.
Well, but it's a good conversation, Tim. We're in.
Well, yeah, it's a
we're
good
in safe
conversation
ground.
once we get the PDR.
But
Once we
we're-
get the
we're
PDR.
in
Right
safe
now, we're
ground.
talking
Yeah,
about.
We don't get a chance to do this very often.
But then we're gonna have a public forum, and that's the place to start talking about these details.
But
This
you
is
know, I was
where
very,
we're trying to
I
be
was very
productive.
quiet at your forum on the 23rd of
Yeah.
April, because, you know, I've studied this, I've got knowledge on it,
Yeah.
but I'm just a layman, I'm no expert, and I didn't want to interrupt your ability to communicate with the town. I thought you needed that opportunity. So I'd rather do it here than there, but I can do it in either.
Well, it's up to the opinion. I
I'm
just
curious,
we wanna
though,
get through this.
what do you see as the risk?
So, there is a, for example, you just said there's a $180,000 operator. Can you tell me where in the report?
$120,000 to $160,000 operator.
Where is that in the report?
That's all subsumed into the cost of operations and maintenance. If you go to the appendix, it's
Yep.
associated with,
Q?
yeah, I think it is. It's the one with the 11 by 17 sheets. Those operators are all listed in there.
It's 85,000.
For the type of system we're looking at, which,
It's 185,000. You just said $120,000
Oh,
operator.
yeah, well,
160.
okay, I'm doing that right off the top of my head, so I'm wrong.
So it's risky. This is a big enterprise and it's a big operation. Wells and IBM are doing just fine. So I don't mind the risk being on their shoulders, and Sam Park already built a system.
When you're
He's
talking
a big boy.
about risk, you're talking about cost.
I'm talking about risk to the
Cost-
town because there's
cost-
$7.5 million.
You're talking about the cost of
Financing,
the operator
phase one.
versus the incremental increase in.
if I could just jump
Taxes.
in, I think our committee was charged with finding out if it's feasible or not. To me, feasible is you're weighing the risk and the cost benefit.
Okay.
And so I think, I don't know if Sam Parks is doing a smart sewer or if he's doing a conventional sewer or what. I feel that when you take into consideration the area that we are studying, that the smart sewer would be the only thing that's feasible. A conventional system would not be feasible. If we didn't know about this concept that CRWA came up with, and I was just looking at what I learned about with Acton and other sewers, I would probably guess that this committee would say, no, it's not going to be feasible for Littleton for what we're looking at, the common area in this area. So I feel that part of it is the type of system like we're looking at has something to do with saving some money, and also all the betterment fees. If you think about that, add that to it. So Sam Parks doesn't have a betterment, someone paying him a betterment to do that. IBM doesn't have someone paying him a betterment. They're paying the town the betterment. So do you understand?
No, I do. In phase one, you're at 100 business units, at 100 users, you are projecting at around $13,000 to $13,565, about $1.365 million, $1,365,000 of betterment fees in year one. This operation costs a lot more than that, so we don't get there.
No, that's not
We
true.
don't get there in the
Well, we'll get to
$221,000
that.
operating
We'll look at the economic comparison shortly.
But it's.
All right, but,
it's-
okay.
And
But I want to be quiet.
Wait.
Thanks for
Let's-
indulging me, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanna be quiet.
we'll get back to the economics because I got the charts in here. Okay, so growth control. One of the things the town needs to recognize, CRWA did a study back in 2001 on water balance and land use in town. And on the right, or on the left-hand side, is effectively current land use. That's changed some, but not a lot. And on the right-hand side is what could be done under current zoning in the town of Littleton. So look on the left and think about all of the agricultural and forested open space that we all appreciate, and which makes the character of the town. When the Mathesons were here, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what we want to preserve, at least I want to preserve. If you look on the right, the best crop to grow in this town, if you want to make money on that property, has 4 or 5 bedrooms in it. And that could happen. On the left is a population of 8,300. On the right is a population of between 13,000 and 15,000.
Right.
On 1 acre lots, by the way. Also during that study, we prioritized the most important land for the town of Littleton to preserve, to try to prevent growth in. So the darker the green, the more important that property is for habitat, endangered species, water resources, and the like. And then look at the areas that are white. Those are the areas, if we're going to build, that we ought to build in.
Can I just ask out of curiosity where the Mathesons fall here? Is this green?
I think they're on the
that
the
green
north.
kind of eye shape.
So that
yeah.
it is green?
Yeah.
So this actually would be in support of
Preserving that
their
area.
land.
Absolutely. Okay, so village common zoning has changed. Rich, you're the one that's most familiar with this stuff, but from design standards to sustainable design, external materials, 32-foot maximum height, roof forms, etc. And what that zoning and this whole project is designed to avoid, which is sprawl, box stores, and the like.
Which I have to say, you know, just every time I drive through Westford, and they don't have sewer and they have all this sprawl, it just to me, I would not want to live with all that
My
traffic.
kids
It's
say,
very,
Mommy, they stole the forest and put up a
yeah,
mall.
it's awful.
There's smoke in the sky, as my kids used to say when they were about 5.
Yeah, but all that stuff's not in the center of town.
Yeah, that's true, but it's still pretty bad.
They paid
I mean,
Paradise to put up a parking lot, right?
yeah. Okay, so
Which is
smart
what we
sewers.
contemplate at the common, but,
What was that?
which is what we contemplate at the
Well,
common.
no, there's a very, very big difference. Here's the smart sewer confined development, okay? So on the left-hand side is it directs growth to a walking village center density district, which is very different than sprawl. In a sprawl, to go from one mall to the next, you get in your car and you drive. So when I go from Staples to the auto store, I drive about a half a mile on Great Road. And then from the auto store to the mattress store is about 2 miles on Great Road, in traffic, with the lights, etc. This is dense growth is park your car and walk, where all of the stores and the like are available. And as a consequence, it reduces the pressure for suburban sprawl along major thoroughfares, in our case 110 and Great Road 119 2A.
One of the building that my business is in, they're having a problem with how dense they can put small incubator businesses in because they're on a septic system. When he found out I wanted to put in a washing machine, because I have to pre-wash the fabric, he freaked. And I said, look, 90% of my output is wool, 10% is going to be things I have to wash. You know, we're going to do maybe 2 loads a week, 40 gallons. He said, okay, I can handle that. And I've kept to that. But he was really worried. And so, the maids, they have to take their stuff off-site to do their cleaning. They can't do it in the building. He's really limited to who he can rent to and how much he can invest in the building.
My landlord too, I mean, I was considered medical, and they almost couldn't have me in the building because me being a tenant could have made the
Pushed it over,
maximum
yeah.
amount that was allowed with the septic system we used.
Okay, so some of the environmental benefits. This is we did an analysis of all of the surface water bodies, which in Littleton are mostly on the west and north side of I-495, except for the lake, Long Lake. And that's where all of our wells are west and north of I-495. So that water is pumped out, and most of us live south and east of I-495. And it's pumped out and taken over to south and east of I-495 and goes, see the hydrologic divide there? So the pink on the left-hand side and the yellow and blue on the right-hand side. All that water ends up in the yellow and blue, and once it gets there, it never goes back to Beaver Brook. The drawdown on Beaver Brook in the summertime is 55%. That's a huge net impact. That's almost the same net impact as the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority 360 million gallon a day wastewater treatment plant has on the Charles River. It's enormous. What it does is it concentrates pollutants, it raises temperatures, and it destroys habitat. The sewer will not solve this problem in its entirety, but it helps. It takes the water from the northwest side, it's used in town, and then it's returned to where it came from. So it will enhance water quality, and it will help begin to resolve the drawdown impacts, particularly in the months of July, August, and September, on our surface water bodies near our wells.
Do we have information as to how much flow you're talking in the common area and area A and B that this is going to collect the wastewater from compared to the other properties, if you will, on the south and the east side of 495, just, to...
So what you want is actual flow enhancement? Yeah, I think Julie
Can we
could...
get those numbers?
Yeah,
and see
what she could do is she could say, she could come back to you and give you a flow enhancement chart. So you
Yeah.
could see flow in the wintertime is much higher than it is in the summertime. It drops way off the
Well, that-
EKG for a river. And then we could show you what it is currently
Yeah.
and what it would be once full build out and the water is restored, what that
Right.
would look like.
So then the townspeople could see, exactly what portion of the water is now gonna be recharged versus nothing, if
Right.
you will. Everything flowing
So-
in the opposite direction. I'm just wondering if we could get.
Yeah, we
something
could do
like
that. Yeah, we can come up with a graphic way to describe that for you.
Yeah, so what this does is this tells us what's coming out, but you're right, Janet, there's no graphical representation of how much is gonna go back in.
Well, as a benefit of the sewer. I mean,
Yeah.
if the purpose is to show that the sewer is beneficial to recharging water, then if we have the numbers, we should be approved.
So we know if we're saying it here, but the numbers you need to show, yeah.
I want to comment for a minute here, because this presentation is all about the sewer system, and it seems to be justifying the sewer system, and this is all the stuff that we know about all this stuff. We know that most of this stuff is true. At our last presentation, we focused more on getting out the information that we found and what the next piece of information is and what we want to do next. This presentation is off that topic, so I think before we go much further, we have to figure out, do we want to go off that topic? Because what I proposed and what I thought we agreed to discuss was the article on special town meeting. We're not here to discuss sewer and the benefits, that's part of it, but we're not here to justify and tell people we want a sewer. We're focusing on what is on special town meeting. And what I'm seeing here is some useful information that may go into that. But most of this is off topic from what we want to do, what we want to accomplish at these public hearings.
My reaction to that, Ted, is I got to be honest with you. All I have read is misinformation and disinformation about this project. People don't know why the town is doing it. People don't understand what, everybody on this committee
Doing what,
understands.
though? Doing what?
Why we're looking at Zori.
Why did the town look at this in the first place? I mean, Chris had a piece in, op-ed in the
I shared
Independent last week that said, this should just go away because nobody wants it.
But,
have I shared any
but that's not what's on
misinformation tonight?
special town meeting. Special town meeting is the feasibility. Whether or not we go ahead with the next phase of the feasibility.
That comes up, though. We're
Some
gonna,
of this does, but I mean, I think.
but there's specific slides to the,
Listen to the rest of it.
Yeah, I know.
and then you guys can choose, pick and
We
choose
do
what you
only
want.
have our practice session, so I don't know if we want to add another meeting next week. But we have tonight, and then we have the 16th before we present on the 17th. So we'll have to either, after we hear Bob's presentation, which I think we should definitely let
It's
him finish
almost
it.
over, by the way.
because-
All right.
Yeah, because I think this is really good information for everybody. But I think then we have, as a committee, are going to have to decide which PowerPoint slides and what are we going to talk about, and we need to pare that down.
I think that this is healthy, because
It is.
there's so many people that don't know what this is about.
But don't we cover a lot of this in there?
Can I ask
Uh,
the
not
members
in
of
a
the public, would you?
Not in a
be interested in
chronological,
something
based
really
on,
detailed like
we
this
started here and we ended up here.
for the public forum?
Information's power. As I said, that's why I tried to be really quiet on the 23rd, because I wanted the town to hear your information. You've done a lot of work. You should be able to deliver your information. This is information. But Bob, I'm going to take you up on what you just said.
Sure.
Have I used any or stated any misinformation this evening? And have I not quoted your report, including appendice references that even you don't remember? Have I used misinformation tonight?
On the other hand,
What
in
what
your
have I
op-ed
said?
last week, you mischaracterized the whole nature of this business.
Specifically, what was misinformation in that? And specifically, what this evening have I said that isn't true?
Why don't we take that up? Let me finish this presentation, we can take it up after this. Okay, so increased affluent treatment and safer groundwater. This gets into the nitrate, the elimination of the nitrate loading downtown by the elimination of septic systems and septic system failure and the nitrate burden, which is continuing to go up. I have to tell you that I do know that in 2000, the nitrate levels were around 3 to 4 milligrams per liter. We're now in the 5 to 7 milligrams per liter range. This should be cause for serious concern.
Should we be concerned that the Littleton Water Department's 2012 water quality report is not accurate?
No, that's accurate.
Okay.
That's the water that you drink that comes out of your tap. This is the groundwater in the ground in the common area.
Mhm.
And it is cause for concern.
So the Littleton Water Department is giving us correct information with respect to the safety of our drinking water?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
And it's very high quality
And our
water.
drinking water in Littleton is safe?
It's coming from the red zone.
Okay. The drinking water in Littleton is safe
Yes.
with respect to nitrates?
Yeah, after they treat it.
No,
They're not treating for nitrates.
the water that comes from the Beaver Brook wells, the Spectacle Pond wells, and the wells over by my house, which are the
Yeah.
wetland area there, the name of which is escaping, but Sanderson Road
Yep, there's two of them there.
wells is extraordinarily high quality water. It does not need to be chlorinated.
Mhm.
It's extremely high quality. That's not what we're talking about here.
Okay.
We're talking about groundwater
My
from
apologies.
discharge.
Just want to make sure we're all saying
in-
the same
in-
thing.
yeah.
Drinking water in Littleton is safe without this sewer system.
Yes.
Perfect.
Just to expand on that, though, what would be the harm in having bad groundwater?
Well, the problem is that there are a few folks downtown that get their water out of the ground. They're on private wells. Those private wells are at risk.
What about the businesses that are sitting right on top of the wells?
If they're using public water, the water that they use is not at risk. If they're using privately pumped water,
But their septic systems are sitting right on top of the well.
well, they're causing the nitrate burden. And the problem with nitrates is that nitrates are not treated by the soils. So that water goes directly into Beaver Brook, or on the other hand, it goes the other way towards Long Lake and towards the Forge Pond and not
Do we have to
Forge
be
Pond.
concerned about the farms growing crops with groundwater with nitrates?
If
And
they're
the
using,
animals?
yes, anyone using a local well, their own well, to irrigate or to provide for their homes has some risk.
I had a colleague that grew up in way northern New York, and I remember she told a story about a bunch of cows suddenly dying, and it had to do with the nitrates from a farm running off, and they were drinking from this river, and they all just died from nitrates. Is that something that?
No, that'd be nitrates probably from the treatment that they're using on
Yeah,
the
the
farm.
fertilizer.
Yeah.
And that washed into some
But
pond that
aren't
they
nitrates
use.
nitrates?
Yeah, but they're gonna be much more concentrated in runoff, in a farm runoff
Okay.
like that than they would be in groundwater.
We should
But
continue.
we're only talking
Okay,
about
sorry.
the common area.
Common area is what would be
The rest of the towns.
eliminated.
Nitrate.
Okay.
Okay, then there is the environmental benefit of a reduced carbon footprint. That is anaerobic digestion, which is used to generate energy and also to take food waste. A total of 3 trucks a day, 2 septic trucks and 1 food waste truck a day, taken at the plant at full build-out. Produces about 2,000 watts of energy a day, about $70,000 a year in income, and then the tipping fees, what the haulers are charged to dump the food waste and the septage at the plant. That produces another $120,000 to $160,000 a year. I think those numbers are here. Anyway, burning those organics at the plant is the equivalent in removal of CO2 from the atmosphere of growing a 245-acre mature forest in downtown Littleton and not building the plant. That's big. A 5-inch diameter tree sequesters a ton of carbon dioxide every year. And there is the potential for water reuse. And with water reuse, that is taking the treated water and using it for industrial process and cooling water, that is using it twice, would reduce demand on potable water by almost 100,000 gallons a day.
Next to zero, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
87,500, right?
Yeah. Whoops. I've only looked at that 50 times. Constructed treatment wetlands, as are shown on the right-hand side. Not only do they treat water and put it back where it belongs, in the same sub-watershed it was taken from, but they also provide tremendous wildlife habitat. And this is a biogas system on the top. I'm not going to explain it, so you guys have been through this before. And down below is the anaerobic digestion system that's been in operation at the Verifine plant in Littleton for 22 years. So this is not a new, untried technology.
What does
They don't
Verifine,
recycle their gas.
what does Verifine do with their
They
gas?
currently flare it. And one of the things that NSU did do is talk to them about seeing if we could capture it to enhance energy generation at the plant. At the time of the conversation, they weren't interested, but that could change. So these are all of the economics, reduces risks of the conventional sewer, gets you to grow in a place where you actually want to go grow. There's phased development here, as you guys have seen before. Okay. By the way, one of the things you want to keep in mind, because Mark brought this up in a question he emailed me the other night, where it says 182,000 gallons of capacity, that's new capacity over and above what exists. The report switches back and forth between new capacity plus existing demand, which is, I don't know, 42 or 43,000.
3.5, I think.
Yeah, Mark. So you have to add those two to get to the 250,000 gallon total capacity at full build out. But the key here is that the town build treatment capacity in phases. However, all the pipes necessary go in up front. So this isn't forever, dig holes in Littleton streets, every 5 years. All the pipes go in right up front, and the only additions to capacity are actual treatment capacity inside the building where treatment actually occurs.
And that, so, but what if somebody wanted to hook up to it?
That's a relatively high bar to cross. The districts have been approved by the state legislature. So First, you'd have to get them by town meeting if you wanted to expand those districts, right? And then you'd have to get approval from the state legislature to allow the districts to expand.
Yeah, we're not even talking about expanding it.
I was just curious.
This is a breakdown on actual capital costs, conventional versus smart sewering. You can't see it there. Maybe I can lift it up. Capital cost for a conventional system that does not generate energy is $11,700,000. Capital cost for phase 1 is $4.3 million. That's all of the pipes and the new treatment, plus $3.2 million for energy generation component if it's built in the initial phase.
So that's 7.5 million.
7.5 million total. With, however, I have to add that the energy component immediately begins to pay back and also help pay down the 4.3 million capital cost.
How much in year 1?
I don't know that.
And what about land cost?
Land cost is not figured in this, but it is figured in the 19
Okay.
capital.
Where does the 7.5 million come from plus the land cost?
That would all come from a...
PDR will tell us.
PDR will tell us, but the assumption, well, I can show you.
No, this is an easy question. You're a very, very educated man.
Okay.
Where does the 7.5 million come from?
It's borrowed, probably from the state revolving fund at 2% interest.
And then paid back
Over 20 years and paid back by the 100 property owners.
in betterments.
First in betterments or hookup fees, at either, in the best case, $5,000 per 300 gallons, or in virtually all of the other scenarios that the town and the district could afford, $13,000 per 300 gallon units, plus their monthly operating fee. Okay, so I'm not going to explain economic models, but this is a quick version of what the economic model contains. And one of the things that we haven't had before, there it is page 67, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Table 18.
Yeah.
But this, again, watching this, I think you're selling me a sewer system, and that's not what we're doing at Fall Town Meeting. You're selling me on smart sewer.
Well, okay, this is what we're,
I think you're educating the people. That's, if you,
Right.
they don't know what you're talking about and why you want it, and what the impact is in the town, and what the benefit is to the environment of the town.
Well, we covered that in hours, not to this depth. And we can't go into this depth because this has been at least a half an hour, and we haven't gotten we haven't even said PDR, which is special town meeting.
okay, Ted, just let me finish. The most important thing here, and that we highlighted, is the risk of a tax increase to everybody not in the district. And this is a comparison of low, none, very low, etc., all the way down, and why. The sourcing of the money that's borrowed, and the best scenario is a publicly financed scenario at 2%, where we also get grant funding, because the state does have, for the moment, and not for a very long time, because it's only $4 million, grants available, and Littleton is first in.
But that's the most important part if you're selling a sewer system. We're not selling a sewer system right now.
But
We're selling a PDR.
Yeah, but you have to educate the people.
We
so
do,
they
but not to
know.
this level.
All right.
Ted, if I go to buy a car and I put $10,000 down, I can either buy a smart car or a Tesla. But I don't know yet because nobody's told me what I'm gonna buy. So
So-
people need to find the numbers. They need to see those numbers.
Right, but that's not right. I understand that, but we have that
You're
covered.
asking us to pay $580.
I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking you to do anything.
For
I'm
something we
educating.
don't know about.
Right, so if you're gonna buy a car, instead of going and spending so much money, you go and you spend $50 on a Consumer Report subscription, and you get your information there, and that's what the PDR is gonna be.
Okay, I hear where you're coming from, but for my
That's all I wanna
money,
hear, yeah.
for my money, the town has not heard a complete review, like everybody on this committee has heard over the last 3 years, of what's been done in this study, what's been compared, what the real risks are, Because there are risks, and they're brought out in
But
that
we're not
report.
risky, but we're not building a sewer, so we're not concerned as much with those risks. What we've got to do is we've got to
But as far as
No, we've got
everybody-
to educate people on the special town meeting article.
Okay, yes, we do, but I gotta tell you something.
Voices back to normal, please, guys.
We have September 17th, we have October 22nd, and we have town meeting. And we could do an extensive thing on the 17th, do question and answers and review on the 22nd.
That's a
And then
good
do
concept.
what we did before, real quick summary on town meeting.
That makes good sense.
And
And, you know, this slide is very useful to people in town. How you gonna pay for this thing,
Pay
okay?
for what, though? Right, the
We're-
report, but
we
please
did
don't
it.
shush me.
No,
Please
no,
don't
no,
shush
no,
me.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to just.
Please, my voice hasn't even gotten loud. But this is great. This is great. We do keep this one in there. But I just think this whole presentation has been way too detailed. I think tell me right now if we're gonna change our strategy. Because our strategy for the presentation was to inform people what the article is on the special town meeting. Now, if we're gonna go ahead now and change our strategy and inform people on the entire smart sewing concept, that's fine, I may disagree with, but if that's the way we wanna go, then that's the way we wanna go. But I thought the public information was to inform people on special town meeting article.
But in order to do that, you need to inform them on why you've even gotten to
think
this point, so you
some-
have to go through.
Well, we had that in there.
Yeah, I think some people want to be spoon-fed, just tell me what your committee found. Other people want to question our committee and they want the details and the numbers, and like Chris Simone is a citizen who's very interested in the details, and I think it's great that there are people in town that are smart and want to know this information. So I think maybe our committee should consider doing both spoon feeding, summarizing, but also if you want the information, here it is, and this is a nice presentation.
You know, I'm on board with that too, Ted, because I'll tell you why. There's so many people that I know who don't understand what this is about, and you can't, and I can't relate it in an abridged edition, because there are points that need to be explained. This is one of them. And the only way to do that is in public forum.
One last
Now,
point. Oh, sorry.
But maybe what Megan's suggesting is have two presentations. One that focuses on the details, and one that focuses on the
Summarize.
abridged edition.
I think
Or
if you
plain
just
English.
repeat what we've done before, you're not giving any new information, you're not getting new interest and new support. I like the idea of the abridged idea at town meeting, because this is too much for town meeting.
Yeah, it's
But
way
I
too much
think
for town
this is what needs to be out there. Something new, something more complete. Still have the information that is in the original slideshow, but give the details so the townspeople understand, okay, you did a report, and why does the report even recommend thinking about sewering? Why doesn't the report that was done just walk away and say, you don't need to do anything? Those are the types of questions that people need to have answered.
I also think that the answers that people need are different from one person to another. Chris's questions have all focused on the economics.
Of the sewer.
Some people's questions, right, they need, what I'm getting back from people, and I did a lot of talking to people on the common, and I just talk to people anyway. There's people want to know why this is a good idea, and why should they spend more money to find out for sure. And the hook that each person needs for that is different. Chris's is economic. He wants to know where the bottom line is. Fran, when I was talking with her about the master plan committee and how down the road this could make those growth controls and that smart growth possible, her eyes lit up. You know, that was you know, that's why she would want to see this in place. Each person's interest is going to be a little different. I'd like to hear the rest of what Bob's prepared. He was saying he's going to turn it over to us to edit it. But I also think that one possibility is have a slideshow, and I think this was actually done at town meeting a few years ago, and it may have been for the high school, the person doing the slideshow had some prepared handouts. And, you know, gee, if you're really interested in all those numbers, here they are on your sheet, on your pink sheet. If you're really interested in how it could affect this, here it is on, you know, your yellow sheet that you picked up when you came in. So that we don't necessarily have to give everybody huge amounts of details, but they have it in front of them.
I think,
And they can look at the ones they need.
yeah.
Right.
One of my big concerns is that we don't have a lot of time between now and the 17th. So what about just brainstorming, doing another really quick, or gathering questions from the public meeting on the 17th, just doing like a quick overview and gathering questions from the public, and then doing our more detailed one like this on the 22nd, and then doing an abridged version at the meeting.
My quick take is that you're waiting too long then.
I think you make a great point, is that we are up against a deadline. Okay, I think the other thing is, when you people are asking about the details of the report, the details are already there in the report that we did. And the details are gonna change, and they're gonna get modified in the PDR. So we're gonna throw all this stuff at them again that we've already done, because we gave a summary of our report previously at the public forum last year. And, you know, this says we're selling a sewer, and we're not. So, you know, the way we presented this in April, whenever the public forum was that, look, we've done this report, and it's come back that, yes, it may be possible. Therefore, we need to go back to the, we need to go and do additional investigation. So, in other words, so here's our summary of where we've been, here's a little detail of the system, and here's what we're gonna do with the PDR. To change course now, when we're up against the clock, I think is gonna, this thing could come off half-hearted, it could come off that we don't know what we're doing, and I think that it's just not gonna come together as nicely as the last one did. I think we can take and add some of this, but I think changing course now is dangerous.
They both make
I-
good sense.
I think you're wrong. And here's why,
Well, but
and
you're-
here's why I think you're wrong. I think that
Don't shush me, please, that's worse than someone yelling at me.
Could I speak?
Yes, I was
All right.
going to.
I think that
Until you shushed.
95% of the people in town have no idea, zero, regardless of what was said last April, about why this proposal is even out there.
Which proposal?
There is not a careful recounting of the history for the existence of the committee, what the study did, and what the study did was to determine that it is feasible to build a sewer system in phases where the 100 property owners involved are the ones that pay for it, that it has both economic and environmental benefits, that it has income streams as listed here, it has income tax revenues, and I would point out that the estimated 2.8 million from the point, that's good, but the estimated 2.3 million in property tax revenues, that's with system construction. When you buy the betterment fee and you get the option to do all these new things that you could do on your property is more valuable instantly. So you're looking at $4 million to $5 million of new revenue to the town within 2 years of the system being constructed. The point is, and you're also looking at electricity generation, earning us $70,000 a year if we use anaerobic digestion and take both septage and food waste, enhancing the methane. There is tipping fees. Septage is 100 to 130K a year. Food waste is 50 to 65K a year. And that's not even getting into the potential for thermal generation. Wastewater, when it comes into the system, has a temperature. And you can use what's called a heat pump, a compressor, to steal 10 to 20 degrees of the capacity there and heat surrounding buildings with it. Cogeneration. You can collect grease from restaurants and the like, and either introduce that to the anaerobic digestion system and generate even more methane, or that can be converted to actually drive town vehicles, clean biodiesel, clean vehicles. There are a tremendous number of options here that have been thought about carefully to reduce the risk to the town and enhance the upside to the town. And if you take all of these things together, and look at the real goal, which is to preserve the character of this town and to deliver to the town true growth control and real services, that's what this whole study has been about. If you don't sell that, if you don't tell people that we have carefully, carefully gone through and looked at the numbers here, and yes, we're at a stage where $500,000 is going to have to be spent to actually sign contracts with property owners and to actually site the facility and, you know, determine where the pipes are going to go and that sort of thing. They're not going to go for that unless they recognize that this was all designed to return to the town real control, where currently it has very little.
An economic benefit.
And there's a reason 5 other towns, CRWA has nothing to do with Lexington, Franklin, and Boylston, which are pursuing this template. We are working with, for $15,000 per town, Sherburne and Rentham. But there are 5 towns in this state that are moving forward with smart sewering for the economic benefits and the environmental returns.
I see the concern here, because if we reinvent this wheel right now, we would have a lot of trouble.
And I have to
trying
disagree.
get there.
Bob, you said our presentation had nothing about the history of how we got here, and nothing about this. And I understand, wait a minute, I let you speak, I very patiently let you speak. This is all great, and we can put this slide in there. But you just spoke for 3 or 4 minutes and said nothing about what's happening in November. And that was the reason we're having our public information forum. It was to talk about that. Let's throw this slide in there. Let's kind of augment some of our other slides, enhance our slides with some of this information. But to go through this at our public information session?
You can cut this down. I mean, I got to tell you, the debate in town is not about an article on November 4th.
But that's what it has to be. That's what we're shifting it
The
towards.
debate in town is whether to even consider a sewer or not.
But that's the problem, because we're not considering a sewer now. That's why the goal, we discussed this, I don't know if Dina was on, but the goal was to get the focus shifted to what's on special town meeting floor and the impacts of that after going through a history. That's what this committee decided. Again, I'll try to stop, but if this committee wants to change this public information session now, we're in for a ton of work.
Yeah.
And changing something that we already agreed upon up until tonight.
Well, let's hear what Dina has to say, and then I think we'll let you
I got
finish.
3
and then-
slides, I think.
Okay. Dina.
I have an interesting perspective because I didn't even know about the April session. And this is a subject I'm interested in. But, and I read the town paper, but I don't necessarily read it completely thoroughly. I had no idea. So I don't know what was presented. How many people showed up?
40.
40. Yeah.
It's recorded on LCTV.
I know.
23rd.
Yeah, but I haven't
really
looked it
good.
up. And, there's some other, ballet moms and elementary school moms that I've talked to. And these are people who are well-educated, master's degrees, doctorates. They haven't had time, they haven't had a clue. I don't even know if they know about these information sessions. You were saying only 40 people showed up. So I'm actually less worried about the presentation we do than getting out the information about the session. I want to make sure that reporter took away that there's a public information session, and that needs to be a really prominent part of her article.
I'll follow that up now, and it's the son that I'm trying to reach too.
Yeah. I've been listening to Bob going, okay, that's cool, that really needs to be cut down, that needs to fit in here. I've been looking at this as someone who didn't see the presentation, going, what do I need to see to convince me, and what do I need to feed to someone else to convince them? That's
Convince
one
them of
reason-
what, though? Please, clarify, convince them of what?
The value of the final product, the value of smart sewering that makes them want to put up the money to start with
So-
for the PDR, which I can't remember what it stands for.
Preliminary design
Thank you.
report.
Basically, they need to see the value of the sewer. They need to buy into that idea so that they fund the PDR. You know, we have this really glorious idea. You know, and for me, it goes back to being on the master plan committee and going, we know where we want to go, we know what we want to do, we can't get there. And that was something that was discussed, I remember when the plan came up, you know, this is a lovely tool, it's toothless. We can't do anything with it.
I think that the concern,
And
I'm sorry, go on.
but what I'm saying is that I'd almost like to take a stab at cutting it down, putting the two of them together, and feeding those points in, going through it, saying, this is what we need to, this is why we need to fund it so we can find out more. This is why we need to fund it so we can find out more. We want to make sure this is certain before we go ahead. But
Before you do that, though, admittedly, you need to review what we already did, because you don't even know what we already did. Okay, so have you reviewed that? I mean, is that
yes,
complete?
I've reviewed it on paper. I've not reviewed what was said about it in the
Right,
meeting.
but I mean, so some of these slides can go in there, but we need to stay focused with the task in that one there.
And the other concern that we've had is that we don't want to make the decision for the voters, at least I don't. I want to give the voters the information and not say, so please vote yes. I want to say, here's the information, what do you think? Do you think it's worth the risk? Do you not want to see a change in Littleton? Maybe you know, it's your choice, it's your town, here's the information, make the decision. So I think that there's a mixed group in this committee and you know, people have different opinions. I don't know that we've never had a vote, an official vote on this committee that we support sewer or not, or the design or not.
Do we have any sort of mandate or charter?
Yes.
That we're supposed to support or not support,
No.
or remain neutral?
No,
No.
but let me
there's
just
nothing-
clarify for a second on that. Since we did put the article forth, obviously as the committee putting the article on, we are saying that we are putting this forward and saying it's worthy of the town voting on. It's worthy of the town to say,
Okay.
we feel that there's sufficient evidence that this should be put to the town to decide whether or not we should go forward.
Okay, in that case, I would say we do need to put a really positive face on it. And that if we look at all indecisive, or you should decide for yourself, then we're not doing them a service. We're not doing the townspeople a service. They asked us to go and find out and give them a summary, and the summary is this, you know, we believe that this is a means to a really good end. This is, you know.
Potentially. We
Yes,
don't know.
we believe.
No, you know, I disagree with you, Ted.
Well,
I
that's,
mean-
well, no.
I mean, I think I'm 80% certain
All right,
that this
we
is gonna
believe that
work.
this
80,
could
that's
be a
not
means.
100.
We
No,
believe that this
So you're
could be
not-
a means.
but it's not 20 either.
Right, but
Or
you're not,
zero.
but it's,
Okay.
but that's where we are. We don't
All
know
right,
if
this
it's
is
gonna
why I
work.
wanted to do the preamble so I can talk. But we believe that this could be, this has the potential to be a really good, a means to a really good end, to be a really good tool for controlling how our town continues to develop. A good tool for controlling our own property taxes. A tool for, you know, helping our schools and our fire department and our police department provide better services. But we won't know for sure until we fund this preliminary design study.
That was well put, well said.
Well, that was,
And that's
Working
a-
on it.
that,
You should
That
do
is
the
excellent.
ending as well then.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll talk the whole time.
Careful what you sign
So-
up for.
Bob, quick question before I just
Come on,
move
you
on.
can,
Not yet,
how many
let's
times did you
share,
hear me do the
please.
same spiel on the common?
What is it, Chris?
Bob, can you help me understand that top bullet on the right under tax income? So estimated 2.3 million in property tax revenue with system construction.
right, as soon as the system is constructed, and you're a property owner and you hook up, right, your property tax is revalued immediately, because the options for that property just improved. That's why they call it a betterment fee, because you have now, currently on a septic system, you have effectively no options.
Will you be telling the owners on October 5th that their assessments are going to change the second they connect?
Sure.
They're not gonna want to hear that.
They know it though, they're not, they're property owners,
Yeah.
they're not.
But how does that, so you're saying their property is going to become worth more, they're going to pay more taxes. How is that different from the third bullet?
That's, the third bullet is increased targeted mixed-use development. That's changes in the properties.
I'm not a business owner, I'm not a property owner, I'm a business owner. As such, I pay taxes on what I have in inventory,
Yeah.
and, you know, so,
Dina, guess what happens?
what?
Because my family has small businesses too.
Yeah.
Guess what happens when your landlord's assessment radically changes overnight? The next time you go to negotiate your lease.
Oh, no, it's already happened, I've been there 9 years.
Yeah.
But it needs to-
Chris, you don't get it both ways.
Yes.
You can't say on the one hand, geez, we need to stabilize residential property taxes, because I don't know about yours, but mine have gone up by 4 times. What have yours gone up by in the last 10 years?
I don't have property tax right now.
You don't have a home?
I rent.
Okay. Well, ask your landlord
Yeah.
what, and you used to have a home, so you used, okay, so you don't get it both ways. If you're going to increase the value of the property, the highest and best use of the property, then the value of the property is going to go up, yes.
But Bob, you're doing apples and oranges.
No, I'm not.
First and foremost, my property tax is irrelevant. Second,
No, it's not
the
irrelevant.
scenario is this, Bob, that Dina's saying, she used an example about her building.
Yeah.
Okay, if to get that 2.3 million, the building owner gets whacked with a huge assessment and his tax bill goes way up, plus the 13,000 times X connection fee, plus the user fees, her lease is going up. Now, Dina's revenue better go up incrementally, significantly in line with it and as quickly, or she's out of business.
See that slide there?
Have you ever run a small business?
Can
Yeah.
I just, wait,
I'm running one right now.
can I just say
Oh,
something to that?
You're acting
Hold on,
as-
the chair's
you're
asking
acting
for-
as
so
if-
the
you're
chair's
acting
asking
as if
Chris.
my model.
The chair is asking for the floor back.
You're acting as if the example I'm raising is
Chris,
crazy.
come on.
Another perspective is, my building is losing tenants, and I'm worried that my landlord, I'm worried, I don't have neighbors anymore on each side.
Okay.
I have empty space. Is my business gonna be hurt by that? It might be.
See, Chris,
I
I
have
don't
less
know,
people
but
walking by my business.
I don't know,
The
but you see,
businesses-
you're
the
going
businesses
so
that you're-
hypothetical. Dina raises a good point, because I'm very concerned about the small business owners in this town. I mean, we have an economic base, let's not forget something.
who,
We have a tax base, we have a $34 million budget, we have revenue coming in the door, we're doing well. There can be improvements always, but we're fortunate where we stand. You are talking about potentially disrupting the economic base we have. So-
who are the small businesses?
Wait, no, but,
Wait,
that
let's
will
go.
be
Your head, Bob.
disrupted?
We're here to talk,
If you look at this slide, and if you look at
this
the,
committee is here to talk about our presentation. It's
Well,
not here
hold
to
on.
split
We're
hairs
get-
about
I
whether or
am
not the
the chair.
feasibility of the
Let's-
system.
Okay, let's have one person finish, so go, please finish.
I made the point. Thank you very much for indulging. I really appreciate that you let me ask questions and participate tonight.
Is there anything
I
else
was
you wanted
upstairs
to
at a
say?
Board of Health meeting and.
No, I'm glad you're here. I don't think
I
I've
don't,
ever
I
seen
don't,
you
often-
in a
I don't
room.
often get to come to
Yeah.
meetings on Tuesdays, so I miss
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward. I know you and I are going to
Yeah.
participate at the Littleton Cable TV
Right,
in a shared interview, and I'm looking forward to that,
Yeah.
Megan.
that'd be great.
Chris, I also said my landlord was having trouble renting because he was restricted in who he could have as a tenant. The lack of bathrooms, really, women business owners don't want to rent from him.
I have the same issue right now
That's a great
because
point.
the business to my right, it has just shut down, and the business to my left just shrunk, so I have 2 empty spaces on each side, and I'm worried about my landlord finding someone. He's asked me to please find someone. It's really hard, and so I'm worried about my business as a business owner. I don't have as much traffic now on
See,
each side.
I'd
So-
like to know from Chris,
It's
who these
restricted.
business owners that you're talking about, that are gonna be greatly impacted, that are gonna have to move, are in our center of town,
didn't
because,
say that.
because you said, you
I didn't say have to
alluded to
move.
that, you alluded to that.
No, I didn't.
Because
I'm
what we
in
have
much better control of
downtown,
what's in my mind, Richard,
are
than you are.
empty,
Of what's in mind or yours.
Let's hear it.
what we have downtown are empty buildings, and people who can't rent their buildings.
Dina raised a great point on that. That's a valid
Yeah.
point.
So these businesses that you're alluding to, that are gonna have to go, they're gonna see their rent increased overnight, where are those what businesses are you referring to in the downtown area?
I don't know where you are, Bob. You're all over the place. My reference is specific to Dina, and it was in reaction to something Bob said. If overnight when the connection becomes possible, someone's assessment exponentially changes,
Yes.
then the leases to that individual's tenants will need to change, unless they're now able to rent
Yep.
their unused spaces.
Yep.
Now, the question is, as a small business owner, they're gonna have to look at it, Dina's gonna have to figure out, is my revenue, is my business going to scale in line and as quickly as my expenses are when that assessment changes and if my lease changes? That's all. It's almost an academic conversation, but it's not a crazy one.
But where are those businesses those theoretical businesses that you're talking about?
Where are they?
Where are they?
Where do you think they are?
Or name one or two.
Dina's building.
We're only talking about Dina.
Well, let me
No.
give you an
No,
example.
You-
My roof was leaking,
Mhm.
and I talked to my landlord, and I said,
Well, there's a couple of them right there.
I have taken my, I have taken my rent check, and it's underneath the tarp that I have covering the fabric, because the roof leaks.
Mhm.
And every month, I'm gonna put that rent check underneath that tarp until you fix the roof. I had, puddles like this. And he said, I'm gonna have to raise your rent. I said, how much are you gonna have to raise my rent? And he said, $200 a month. I said, okay, next lease I expect to go $200 a month. Fix my roof. Because it was
So you
more,
s-
it was more of a detriment to me to have to worry about stuff coming down to my fabric. It's more of a detriment to me to have to worry about my water use and how much my customers dislike the bathroom in the building.
So you're saying that the implementation of soaring changes those variables
Sure.
for tenants like yourself
For
and
me,
you?
it would be easier for my landlord to find a tenant to fill if he had sewer, because that would open up a whole bunch of new, different types of.
Can I just ask you both a question?
Mhm.
You've both just said you have an economic interest in the outcome of this process.
This has been disclosed.
Yeah, we fully disclosed this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had to swear and everything.
The other thing is that.
Well, that means
your
that next
point-
week we're gonna get one of the famous Chris Simone op-eds.
Well, here-
But, I gotta tell you something. If you look at the 2.3 million and you remember about the 250,000 gallons, and you remember the big pie chart as to who's paying the majority of that? Who's paying the majority of the 2.3 million, do you think, Chris?
You tell me, Bob.
The biggest property owners, and who would those be?
Listen, Bob, I'm not going to be quizzed. We've already covered it, and if you want to go back...
No, I would like to ask
If
you,
you want to go
though.
back to the revenue
there-
we're already getting, the $2.8 million which we're already getting...
That's the
without
point.
Your
Are there,
scheme.
the 2.8 million is the point. Are there any
I'm
other
still-
major
I'm still
property
waiting-
owners
I'm still waiting
downtown?
for misinformation, Bob. What misinformation
I'd be
have I
happy to
shared?
fill you in on that later, but let me finish this.
Well, you said...
But of the 2.3 million, Chris.
I'll share misinformation with you. You can't remember the misinformation from my article last week.
Have to be done.
But let me share...
Oh, I can, but it's not part of this presentation.
Well, let me share misinformation that you shared with the town on April 11th in your commentary.
What was that?
On April 11th in your commentary, you cited $37, which is scenario 17 on table 18 on page 63.
67.
The first,
Okay.
the seventh.
Yes?
I don't
Yes.
think it's gonna be.
Okay, you're recommending scenario 19, which is more. The baseline is 101, and that scenario is $96 per 100 gallons per...
Best case publicly financed scenario is number 17, and that's what I was
But that's not what you're
referencing.
recommending, is it,
Excuse me,
Bob?
could you guys talk about this after our
Yeah.
meeting?
But
All
Bob,
right,
that's
okay.
not what you're recommending, is it, Bob?
We'll get to it.
You don't want to answer that, Bob.
I'd be happy to answer it
Actually,
immediately after this
I need to
meeting.
hear Megan, because I need to understand more about how we can revise the presentation.
I'm glad we've substantiated this evening that only one of the two of us had shared misinformation in the Independent. Yours example is April 11th, and I can remember
That's
it.
definitely a
Mine was
conversation you
last
guys can have outside after this. So,
We can have
let's
further
move on.
conversations about misinformation,
Okay.
disinformation, obfuscation,
Bob, can we get back to the...
and the like. Yeah, here's the final two slides.
Sorry, I can't.
Our timing,
Sorry, I'm gonna move back.
okay, increased commercial property taxes, the 2014 ban on commercial food waste is an option for the town to take advantage of. It actually enhances anaerobic production and is likely to benefit us in tipping fees. Opportunities with Wells IBM and The Point, et cetera, global climate change benefits. And then here is where we are in the process, the yellow portion, preliminary design, that the committee has reviewed 5 engineering design firms, identified 3, the final 2 components before a preliminary design, assuming that the town votes the money, is siting evaluation and discussions, negotiations, and contract signing with property owners before full design is requested. And that's it.
Great.
So what I think we need to do is, as a committee, we have to decide what we want to do with this presentation. And my opinion is, I don't think we'll be able to have time between now and the 16th, which is our next meeting, which is when we practice for the 17th.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have time to pick this apart and decide as a committee what we're going to use and what we can't use. And Dina asked a question, can we do this during the week before our next meeting? But technically, I don't think we can, because that would require back and forth emails, and I
No,
don't.
I was gonna ask if I took,
Decisions.
if I took Bob's and I took this one and I sat down with the two of them and said, okay, what if we do this, 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 and this, and then handed it back to you and said, okay, tell me if you like it better.
Yeah, but I can't make that decision for the whole committee.
No,
So
I meant hand it back to the whole committee.
When?
I'd have to do it by the 16th. Or
But
would you
then-
need to see it
We'd
before
have to
that?
see it in a
Then-
meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'd have, the 16th is a meeting, it's a practice session.
Right.
But I don't feel comfortable seeing it and then making a decision, yes or
Okay.
no, and then practicing it. So I feel that
So
we
what
would.
if, so if you.
But you could,
we
you
were-
could send it to us, or you could send it to
Well,
us.
here's how,
through-
I'm sorry.
through,
Well, we were
Tim.
talking about possibly having a meeting next Tuesday.
I can't. I
Okay.
run a support group of parents of children in hearing loss,
Here's-
so I won't be able to be here.
Here's how it worked last time, for those that weren't involved, is that people were assigned certain sections, and they wrote those sections and presented to the committee. So I think if somebody who, I think we should pick sections tonight of whose slides we're going to present, and if somebody wants to incorporate some of this stuff into their section, that's fine.
That's a great idea.
But, you know, that's how this whole thing came together.
Yeah.
Put on here is,
Yeah. So Bob, are you giving Dina
You
the?
can give me a copy of it.
So send it to all of us.
Yeah.
How many,
Well,
how big is it?
The problem I can see with that is.
I just give it to you, because there's so many pictures. You could get it off our FTP site, but you can't get it, I can't email it.
Yeah, you can give a place we can download.
Yeah, sure.
Can you send us a link? That's it.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
was saying was that
Yeah.
if people are all picking at it and incorporating stuff, we run the risk of overlap.
Yeah, I think what we should do is, I know Bob thinks we're running out of time, but I think if we are going to do a detailed presentation, we should do that on the 22nd. Because we do have two meetings on October 1st and October 15th. And then we have a practice session. So on October 1st and 15th, we could tear this apart as a committee and put it back together in a detailed session. I am leaning more towards doing more of a quick, condensed version, repeat of what we did. Maybe between now and then, we can try to get the word out more, so we bring more than 40 people into that meeting, get more questions from the public. With those questions in mind, then we can do a more detailed answer session on the 22nd.
You know, I've come full circle too. I think that's where we need to be, is with the same presentation modified, maybe pick up a few points out of this presentation, even for each of us on our own various slides, maybe incorporate some of this. Maybe have a handout or two about specific slides to have people who want to see numbers, you know, in the audience, just they can have the numbers there. But we won't be boring everybody with the numbers on such a short period of time.
And since we have different people presenting and we can assign it, I think, you know, when Dina goes to talk about whatever her section is, she can get as detailed as she wants for that time. And I think that we are gonna cover a lot of this, because, you know, we went back and I think that it's actually, you have the words in your presentation, but this doesn't have, it's not a wordy slideshow, but the words in your slideshow could be, you know, we could print off and like read some of the words from your slideshow.
Yeah, put them as notes, a lot of times they
Yeah.
come as notes
Yeah,
on the
as
bottom.
notes,
And
and
that-
then
that's-
just keep the same slides, very simple. So
That's
we could just take, you just gave us a lot of really good, valuable, refreshing information that we know, but we're hearing it again, and it's really good to wrap our minds around it more.
And those were kind of our guidelines to begin with last time, is we would have a few bullets on the screen, and we would
Yeah, and then
elaborate.
talk and take questions.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your thoughts, Ted?
Well, Jenna's looking very pensive there, so I want to hear what she has to say too. My thoughts are, focus on fall special town meeting. And if we want our work to go down the tubes and look like we are, not doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're looking like a, half-hearted committee, start throwing up numbers like that, because what happened tonight where we got distracted and away from fall town meeting is gonna happen again there tenfold. So I think a lot of the information that was here is either already in our presentation or can be added without the details of the numbers. The devil's in the details, and the devil is getting off track, getting in back and forth, things like that, and getting off of what we're there for, which in my opinion is to educate people on the November town meeting.
You've said it's very, very good in just a few sentences. And we don't, I agree, because even these numbers on some
Oh, yeah.
developed numbers,
Right,
they
yeah.
change.
No, well, Megan's certainly talked to people, I don't use numbers when I talk to them, because I can't remember them, and the numbers aren't completely trustworthy. They're all theoretical right now.
And people run with them.
Yeah,
People
they're
run.
all theoretical, we won't know more till we do this study. Right now, the numbers appear to be positive, and that's why we want to find out more.
Yeah.
So you were talking about dividing this up into sections, so I had already volunteered to do the introduction. How much of this do you consider an introduction? We go through
May I
this
take a
slide.
look at your
Sure.
notes here,
I was
because
gonna say,
I typically always tend to do the section on what is smart sewer versus
Okay.
conventional, and I'm happy to do that again. So let's see, the introduction, the history introduction, and I think that taking the one other new slide that you presented in the very beginning is fine too, like how did we get here, and then
Do you want to come home and take a
and the
look?
ones we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
I would leave out that who is MVPC.
Okay.
I had the same thought when I was flipping through it.
Yeah, there's a number of those kinds of things you don't need to get into.
Yeah, there's a few of them that I would.
However, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to remind the town that they did vote
Yeah.
in favor of the two districts,
Oh,
the
Are you
zoning
okay with
changes,
doing the
and the
history?
feasibility
I was
study.
gonna do a history and an introduction.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Warren did the typical components, if he's back.
I would
in-
say,
He doesn't do that. Oh.
I
You
can
know.
take that.
Okay.
Well, I was thinking.
Oh, any one of us three could do it.
Well, I was gonna say, as part of the introduction, here's what a typical sewer looks like, and,
That would be part of your introduction.
That's fine, the less I talk, the better.
Do you remember when Warren did that, though? He got into the weeds, and
Yeah.
he almost put everybody asleep.
Yeah.
So that's what we
That's
gotta
what I'm saying,
try to avoid.
I'm willing to take that.
And you have a background in.
And, yeah, that's
too, so.
I have a master's degree in environmental planning and a master's
great.
degree in regional planning. And it was almost entirely focused on water resources and sewage and septic and whatever. I grew up in Winthrop, which is now the home of Deer Island.
Yeah.
So I was exposed to it at an early age.
It's an easy enough thing to,
Do you feel
To deal
comfortable with this part?
yeah.
Would you present on,
Sure.
would you guys be okay with
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
On the zoning?
Were there any notes, because,
I bulletized
You did this
this whole thing.
part last time?
Yeah.
See, in the introduction, I want to touch on we're talking about this because this article is going to go to town meeting, it's the next step. In computer programming and in logic, they say, tell you once, tell you twice, when I tell you 3 times it's true. So we want to tell them at the beginning, we want to mention it again in the middle, and we want to mention it again at the end.
Oh,
sorry, one more time, the logic of Sunday.
I was saying that logic and computer programming and things like that, you want to mention why we're here at the beginning. We're here because we've got this article in the town meeting for the PDR, and here's an introduction to the subject and why we want it. More detail. Mention, we're going to find out more about this if we do the PDR, and then at the end, tell them again, here are all the good things that might be possible, but we have to do the PDR to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm almost looking at it sounds kind of funny, I don't want to take away from the serious nature, but it's almost like, Jeff Foxer with Redneck, he says, if you want to, and I'm trying to say, if you want to find out if this is feasible, then you want to do the PDR.
Yeah.
If you want to find out what's going to happen to property taxes, then you want to do the PDR. And to kind of get away from, I don't want to,
No, I think that's the right, I think that's the right.
I don't want to get too
level.
humorous, but I think that's a very good,
No, I think it's a
Yeah.
really good tack to take.
So,
All right.
we were trying to figure out if Warren, I believe Warren said he would be here for this date. Does anybody remember?
But if he nearly put people to sleep last time?
Well, he's really,
I don't think he put
he's
people to
really,
sleep. I think he did a good job.
yeah, he's got a ton of information.
and
And a very
Knows what he's
different
talking
perspective, and I think that if we can get him, I don't know where we could throw him into this.
I may have used the wrong words here, but.
Well, no,
I
he-
think he did.
He was,
no, he got off, a couple times I was like, Warren, you're going too far this week.
That never happens.
He, Into the Weeds was a pretty, I think he went a little too far one way, but he brought it back. He didn't go as far as he could
He's
have.
a huge resource for us. I think we should try to, where would be a good place?
Oh, thanks.
I think the
Yeah.
slides he did where he explained the conventional
Yeah, Alex
versus
is
smart sort, I think
top
he did a
of the
good
line.
job.
We told him
Did I-
repeatedly,
What did I?
do
I
it.
think that's where he
Yeah,
was.
right here,
No, I don't,
Oh,
I think
it
that
was-
was you. It was the,
before this probably.
Well, he did a very nice
Oh,
job,
yes,
Louis
this
Dye.
was
He's a-
part
he's
of
a-
it.
So
he's a great
Dina,
kid.
He's a class act.
And Warren, you're gonna do an intro which could incorporate this, but then Warren can go into more detail if he's here. If he's not here, then you can just cover it, but if he is here, then I'll let him still say his whole spiel. He'll say whatever slides we have up there or not. And then
he will.
the,
I was gonna say, well, with those typical components, I was actually thinking of making that more condensed into one slide because we want to not focus on typical, this is what usually happens, but it's not what we want to do. I don't want to focus on it to the point where people go, oh, yeah, that's what we're scared of.
and then,
Folks, I'm gonna leave you. I have a very long day tomorrow, so.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank
A
you.
very long day for you.
Thanks, Bob.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Users
the
pay for
conversation,
professional usage.
debate,
Who did this part before?
good spirit.
Yeah.
Incorporate that new slide.
Yeah, new
No
slide.
debates at all. I get them
Yeah,
all
some
the
of
time.
those we definitely on the 16th, we can pull from, but I just think there's too much words. I think it's fine to print it off like this and have it there for us to reference in our minds when we go to talk to people. But I think when people see too many words on
See, Mark.
this,
See, Chris.
And even some of the bullet points needed to be short and condensed.
who wants to talk about criteria for feasibility?
That was Brian, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, that was
you
mine.
did
It's
risks and
risks
benefits.
Does that have my cost?
We can revise that on the 16th. New.
Is Steve coming on the 16th?
He said he would be able to make the next meetings after today, but he hasn't been to so many. We're gonna have to really catch him up with Steve. Steve Yonley, who you haven't even met yet. 'cause
Yeah.
He's been absent all summer.
Sorry.
This was Ted. And then this,
Yeah, that's gonna be changed.
this is
Well, that's
revised.
action done to date, not to be done.
Hmm.
That's action done to date.
Oh, okay.
That's actually going to become part of the introduction.
Okay.
Oh, so we'll move to intro.
Yeah, because we're going to do that history.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And then summary, you did a good summary today, so can we have Dina open and close?
Mhm.
What will I do?
Okay.
Oh.
And,
I do this one.
You're still
I think
the
that's it.
host.
So they joke about being,
Can you bring,
introduced to sewage at an early age.
can you bring this to the 16th?
I bring the whole bag.
Okay, just because I want to, and then I realized partway through that I didn't formally ask anyone to take minutes, so I started to take a bunch of notes. Maybe if you send me your notes and I can put it together.
All I'm
That'd be
missing is,
And I.
Bob made a
So should I
presentation, we
call-
discussed
is Jen
presentation.
Jen Gibbons?
That's
Yeah.
about the size
Should
of
I
it.
call her, or do you want to call her and tell her I need another
You know,
copy?
people, if you
Oh,
leave
I
me
don't
on these
mind
committee
listening.
meetings,
Okay.
minutes,
I can do that.
then
Yeah, if she just gives me a call. I'm
Yeah.
like-
you know, so-and-so
It's-
said this, so-and-so
and
said
the thing is,
that.
in terms of like walking
Last-
district and small
last
business
sentence.
owner, that's one of the reasons I
That's
put
what
my
we need.
business in the center of
What we
town.
just approved
Is I
tonight.
can walk to town
I wrote a
hall,
nice,
walk to the
a nice
post office,
thing
I
for
can
the
walk
Board of
to
Health, a
the bank.
guideline on what to
I don't
do.
have move my
I
car.
look at him now, I
My
can't even
husband's
think of
unhappy
miles
with
of
me
it.
trying to bike to work because I have to bike past the intro, the entrance to 495. I've already had one bike car accident.
Oh my goodness, that's so
Oh,
dangerous. Any committee member updates that we haven't talked about already?
Thank you, Megan, doing a great job.
Oh, gosh, you're welcome.
Do you guys still want me to come to these after this? Is that
Yes.
it?
Yeah, Chris,
Is
I
that it?
have never seen you at one of our meetings before.
It's hard for me to come on Tuesday nights.
If you can come, I
I'm
think
usually
it's
traveling
great.
or,
I think it's wonderful.
that's the only reason.
I wish you were on this committee, to be honest.
Ted, I apologize, I really am, my hearing's really sensitive, I actually wear earplugs to concerts.
Oh.
Okay?
But the other thing is,
So I'm not trying to, I just want you to lower your volume, I'm not
Should
trying to
we-
shut you up, I'm sorry.
All right,
Before
I
we
wasn't
have-
even,
should we-
all
Are there
right,
any
that's,
other committee member
I
updates
wasn't
before we
getting
call the
mine.
meeting to close?
Yeah.
Or does anybody have any motions or anything?
I would just want to talk about how we discuss things with the public and how we are having some side conversations here, which I think is inappropriate. I think if people come out and they have something to say, we listen politely and we respond politely. The way we behaved tonight, I was appalled to be on this committee.
we also,
Excuse me.
I didn't know you were done, you stopped, okay, I thought you were done.
And I think we're lucky to have two people here tonight. We usually just have Mark. We have Chris. Chris had some good points, Chris had some questions. Do I agree with everything Chris said? Maybe not. But I owe him the respect to listen to him. And I think we all need to do that.
I think those are very good comments,
Yeah.
I
Janet.
think we need to maintain order though also. Like you said, no more side conversations, but the way it should also proceed is in accordance with the open meeting law where the questions are directed to the chair and not to people presenting. And I think Megan was, fighting an uphill battle and she hasn't chaired meetings and he hasn't chaired any contentious meetings until tonight. And it wasn't really contentious, just a lot going back and forth. So I think
Yeah.
that also needs to be, that will resolve 50% of the problem.
Megan, let me say to you, I think what Ted just said, Selectman just said is absolutely true. Absolutely true. It was kind of like an informal thing, there's not an audience tonight, Mark's behind me, I wasn't seeing him. And some of the rules of it all kind of, it was just more of a free-flowing conversation, which I really appreciated. But Ted's absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And when it
I should have
starts,
directed my comments to the chair and.
when it starts, it's fine.
Yeah.
But when it gets rolling, that's when it gets out of
You're
control.
absolutely
It
right.
might have been just the informality, like we
Yeah.
have this thing and I'm sitting over there,
Yeah.
so it's fine, no
But-
problem.
I thought it was one of the better, though, meetings, because it was a real
That's
exchange.
good,
So,
I did
what it's
too,
worth.
yeah.
yeah, great.
We got some words said that needed to be said. Yeah, so,
It's our Littleton. We all live here, together. The good and well-being for Megan is the same for Mark and me and Janet, Dina, Richard,
I
Ted.
think we
We
all
all live
have
in
the
the same
same,
town.
same goals in mind, just different ways of getting there.
We're lucky to live here.
I think so, this is a great town. All right,
Thank you.
Janet, thank you very much for your,
Observations and comments.
yes.
Yeah.
I move to close?
Any seconds?
Second?
Yeah. All those in favor?
Great.
All right.
All right, thank you, everybody.
10:07, wow, what a night.
Rich, are you going to give us directions or are we all set
Yeah.
on the,
Oh.
you give just...